I think the 3 years rehearsal is well spent.
Welcome to Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast.
Well, me and Virgil, we beat the desert, we're riding fast and riding hard. We hit the city, the past behind us, so we raised some hell, we had some fun, washing dishes.
Welcome back, everyone. I am your host today, Dan Telander, aka me. And with me, as always, is my brother. Who's that?
AKA Virgil, or Alex Telander as I'm known in the real world. Good to see you, Dan. Glad to be back here in the hot seat.
Yes, good to be back. Today is a very exciting episode. I'm very excited about this one. So,
Should we, I thought before we get started, should we show off our Genesis shirts that we deliberately put on? So mine is a custom-made one that I made in TeePublic of each band members' names in the various fonts of their albums, which I think is pretty cool.
and did you say that was TeePublic? Yes?
Yeah, I could. If anyone, here's what we're gonna do, because I don't know if Genesis will come after me. Put it this way: I put up other Genesis stuff I've done before, where I've I used like the We Can't Dance logo sticker and things like that to make stuff, and I left it up there, and people started buying stuff, and then I got an angry thing saying, "Please take this down. You're not part of Genesis." Honestly, I unintentionally put mine on, and then realized this morning, wow, it's great, I put this on last night. But this technically is not, but I don't know if I could get away with it. But so anyway, if anyone is interested in something like this, shoot us an email and I'll hook you up, put it that way.
Yes.
Under the table.
No. My one is not from TeePublic. I got mine at Twickenham Stadium.
Oh, very nice.
Way back in
Turn It On Again tour.
Way back in 2007 for the Turn It On Again tour. Yes. Still got it, and I still very happily wear it. And I purposefully put it on for this episode. Because
Well done.
what we are talking about today is this beautiful golden gem right here. The BBC broadcast box set. I guess you call it a box set, can't you? Yes.
It is a box set, yeah.
It is a box set, yes.
I mean, if it's more than one disc, really. Well, I guess if it's more than 2 discs, I guess.
Well,
2 discs would be a double album. If you go more than 2, it's a box set.
Well, if you recall, the archive box set that got released a few years prior to that, I mean, that thing was huge. And I recall also getting the Doors box set. It's like 4 CDs, but
now
again,
that's huge.
That thing was huge as well.
Honestly, the Genesis one wasn't too bad because it was more this rectangular thing, both of them. So it was nice and compact to carry around and stuff. Compared to someone like I think the Led Zeppelin one, I think it's basically the size of a record, and it's like a giant thing with all the CDs in it and stuff. Yeah,
that's true. You got the police message in a box. And that's just like
you got the
thing as well.
And you've got those, I think, the actual Genesis, the video box that they did and stuff like that too, which is actually a cube type thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a box. Yeah, that's what it is.
Set.
But with this beautiful thing, it's very nice, very compactful. It literally looks like it's just one CD in there. But yeah, as you said, there are 5 CDs in here.
I did want to caveat this with it feels like every episode, all we've done is gushed about our love of Genesis and how everything is brilliant and they haven't done anything wrong. And it's been very hard for us to pick a least favorite song and stuff like that. I feel like in this episode, we are going to have some negative comments compared to other previous episodes. We finally have some negative stuff to say about it. Not about the music, but
no, I don't know
about this particular release.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm ironically smiling about that, but yes, that's true. Yeah,
because you also have some something to get off your chest, shall we say?
Yeah, we will proudly reveal to people today that we're not just the biased, obsessed fans saying these guys can't do anything wrong. Absolutely not. So as you'll see today,
Phil knows well how to pick a woman and marry her and stay with her forever. Yeah, he's very good at that.
Yes. Well,
Mike and Tony do, and Peter and everyone else.
No, yes. Well, here's the big question, though, because obviously with this, there is a lot of content to cover here today. Now, are we going to be doing this like we have done with previous albums? Are we literally going to be going track by track? Or are we just going to be going talking about the CD era roughly or do we want to go the full?
That's what I was thinking more disc by disc, and we can kind of break it up a bit, but I think track by track would be a little excessive.
Yeah, I mean, I did take notes of pretty much track by track anyway, so
right.
We can see how we go with that. Yes.
Right.
Well, before we begin, though, general questions then. Your general vibe about this album. What was when you first heard about saying, right, they're going to be releasing the BBC broadcasts, and Tony Banks is getting together with Nick Davis. They're going to listen to the tapes, remaster them, apparently, do all the stuff, revamp them, give them the full revamped work. What was your first take on that?
I didn't physically do it, but inside I was jumping up and down because it's something new from Genesis, so we wanted it. Where they already said, we're not releasing any sort of live album from The Last Domino. Don't ever expect to see any of that.
Yes.
The best you're going to get is what's on YouTube, which is surprisingly good, as everything is on YouTube with bootleg stuff. But so hearing this, it was like, oh, good, there's going to be something. And I'm trying to remember, this was, I think, shortly after they sold their rights, wasn't it? Their music rights to, I can't remember who it was, some big music conglomerate for like $260 million or something like that.
Well, it does say here that it's officially under EMI.
But I also see Atlantic on there and Rhino.
Right, okay. Now, I don't know for sure, but I like to think that actually this was the last thing that they officially released still under like their... Well, not their name, but you know what I mean? That it was still part of their music rights as themselves. Because what's very special, the release date of this album is extremely special to me because it got released on my birthday, March the 3rd. March the 3rd, 2023. So, and what's also really special was because family was asking me like, hey, your birthday's coming up. What would you like to have your birthday? And I was like, well, do I need to ask? Because thankfully on Amazon, they said you can pre-order this.
Right.
And so literally on my birthday, I opened up a package and this thing was sitting inside.
Actually, I remember our mother being in touch with me, and I was helping out to make sure it was all done right and everything. I was offering to order from my end if need be or something. Yeah. So you got it on the day of release, was it? On your birthday you got it?
Yeah. On the day of the official release. Yeah. And I like to think that if this was the last that they released, under their little name with the music still under their belts, then I thought this could not have been a perfect thing to kind of say goodbye as they
close the door, if you will. Yes, just say
yeah. It was a very bizarre thing to read with that article, I have to say, when they sold their stuff, because obviously a few other people did it as well, and I just thought, wow. And then suddenly it was like, oh, Genesis and plus Phil did the same thing. It's like,
but not
right. Well,
Not Peter Gabriel though, right? Because he's still, and I can't remember if they did.
no.
And I don't
No,
think
he's
that
still doing
the early stuff is included in that or not. I can't remember if the early stuff is. Well, I think that is. Maybe it is. Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Complicated legalese stuff that we don't really care about that much, as long as they keep releasing stuff. But yeah, so I got the vinyl and the CD. Neither arrived on the release day. They all came later, but I was okay with it. I can't remember. I think it was the CD I ordered specifically through Vinyl Records because they had a special promo thing that it came with a lithograph. Which is now lost. It's somewhere in this house, but I don't know where I put it a year ago. It's gone. But it's a cool picture of like this thing, and then a few pictures on the other side and stuff. And it's like about this big and stuff, which is kind of neat.
Nice.
But I'll have more to talk about the differences between each version and stuff like that later on.
I was gonna say like that with this album, I think it was a golden gem to hear about and to receive. Especially for any long-time Genesis fans, this is a fantastic thing to have, because up until this point, we've had over the years we had a bunch of compilation albums. I think we had to Turn It On Again, the hits, obviously for the former reunion tour, and then now for the Last Domino tour, had another compilation album, and before that, I think it was like the the Archive box set as well, or 5
that at least
CD,
had new
4
material.
CD
It wasn't
thing.
just a greatest hits collection. It was actually like live stuff. And I mean, we had the Lamb show on there and stuff like that.
Sorry. Yeah, that was the Archive thing. I meant the the one that happened afterwards. The R.
Oh, that's
R
right. Yeah.
hyphen Chive.
There was another,
which was basically just all.
There was another hits collection in, I think it was '99, wasn't it? That had the Carpet Crawlers '99 version on it.
Yeah, that was called. Oh yes, that was called Turn It On Again, the hits.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
yeah,
that was called Turn It On Again. I thought that was actually combined with their reunion tour, but I must be
no,
wrong.
because it was
That's
one
true,
because that's when they all go back together and actually they re-recorded that song together, which was kind of cool.
That's true. I was still living at home with our mum and dad when that came out,
and it's cool because you have Peter singing it, and then Phil even does. I think he does the third verse, something like that. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no. I thought it was a fantastic version. I thought it was brilliant. And I thought, well, this is now the last proper official Genesis recording, release on any record. I thought could not have been a better. So when they closed their reunion tour with that song,
yes,
I thought, even
with the drum roll at the end of the last bit. Yeah.
Oh, man. Orgasmic.
Chester really kills it. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, so obviously then we've over the years we then had a compilation album of hits or whatever, and then of course the Archive, which is basically a bunch of all the band's solo work, but joined in together, chronological order. Right. Yeah.
Is there Genesis stuff on there too, or is it just their solo stuff? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was Genesis stuff,
right?
Plus then the band's solo material that was
kind of mixing it together.
That's kind of yeah, and I thought that's quite cool. That's kind of cool. A bit like with the whole the very best of Sting and the Police greatest hits kind of thing.
And I think Peter came up with the name, didn't he? The letter Archive, because he thought it was a witty thing.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, so and then so they had the Archive thing. I didn't know Peter actually.
I think I heard that somewhere at some point, because it sounds like something he would.
It makes sense.
It's not Tony. Put it that way. Tony probably thought it was stupid.
Yeah,
I can imagine. So I can just imagine it, the thing, and he says, "Come up with it, and we're going to call it Archive. Get it, Archive." And Tony's just like, "Of course you did."
Tony's probably just thinking like, "Okay, fine, whatever." Yeah. But then, then they hit the Last Domino collection. So it's like, okay, so it's just another bunch of songs which you already have. It's been remastered. I think Davis probably has something to do with it. So hearing about this, it was like, and probably all fans are thinking like, and I did see comments about this saying like, finally, some real classic golden gems instead of just another remastered compilation album with songs which we've already owned for decades.
The other thing I want to make too is it's now a year on, and it is still not up on Spotify. So really, the only way you're going to listen to it is.
Wow, really? I mean, I think a bunch of people have already put up on YouTube, like the entire, already shared it, that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's quite cool. That's quite cool. So they really are making it still bootleggy and rare
Well, and of course, there's various versions of the songs already on YouTube and various recordings from their original sessions.
Well,
and
this we're gonna this
Yeah. We'll
this
talk
we're
about
also
it, yeah.
going to discuss
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So well, let's why don't we just get cracking with it? We're going to begin then with CD 1. And right, what's going to kick off here then? Let's just look at the packaging because we have it right here. Right, so obviously we begin then. Oh, by the way, though, those of you who might be a bit confused what this whole thing is about, that over their decades as a band, they have constantly gone into BBC studios in Maidavale, which I have been to, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Not the actual studio recording center itself, but I've been in the building close by. A friend of mine, apparently, though, he did work in there. If I'm correct, Johnny Anderson, by the way. So he actually worked in there. This is a guy that I used to be in a band with. We both know him through the band way back when we were still living in Spain in the 90s.
He did not work there with Genesis because he's not that old.
No. So it is in Maidavale in London, and they over the years they went there, but they were good. From 1970, that's when they were in there. So here you got these bunch of 20-year-old kids.
Well, I did. I don't know if have you read the book that came?
I
with
did.
it?
I did read a book. Yes.
Yeah, because I spent the last few days. Hadn't looked at it. I looked at it first time I opened it. Never read it, and I haven't looked at it.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Except for a few days ago when I actually read the full thing. So it was interesting to read that they actually didn't do that many like BBC session thing compared to like Zeppelin or other bands that do tons of this stuff. They were saying that the Genesis didn't do that many, so it is kind of a rare recording to actually bring these all together.
Also very true. Yeah. So.
At least the early stuff, yeah.
So what we're going to kick off with then, and like we said, we'll just do it maybe CD by CD, or we'll be here forever. But what's really cool with these things, now obviously though, for you very hardcore Genesis fans, you probably would have recognized the first 3 tracks that appeared on this from their archive box set, which they released in when was that? In the late 90s, wasn't it, actually?
It was, it was like 96, I think.
Maybe.
98, maybe.
98, yeah. And the first 2 CDs included a rare official recording of The Lamb in the States somewhere. And then CD3 was a bunch of earlier stuff, but recorded from the Rainbow era. So very cool. So plus the original live version of I Know What I Like. So again, rare stuff there.
We got live suppers ready
Finally.
that we never got on the Genesis live album.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Sadly, with re-recorded vocals and guitar from Peter and Steve, but hey, that's them.
I thought that was cool at the time, but over time I've liked it less and less.
And then on CD4, which was really a whole bunch of B-sides, unreleased material, way back to even demo versions of the Genesis to Revelation, including the very, very last track on the album, because obviously they said due to the quality of the recording, as the older they got, the worse the recording got. So actually they've gone in reverse chronological order with that CD4, and the very last track is a demo version of the track In Hiding, called Patricia, and what's even more rare about it is instrumental, plus they didn't even have a drummer then. So you actually hear for the first time and only time Peter playing drums on the demo of that, which is awesome.
Oh, it was? I didn't know that.
It was Peter. It was Peter playing that, yeah.
I was listening to that, was it yesterday or I think the day before? Because I'm doing my thing I do multiple times a year where I do my Genesis run through on Spotify, where I have everything Genesis except for from Genesis to Revelation, in order, just playing. So I'm up to Archive. I was just finishing up Archive 1. I'm about to move on to Archive 2.
Okay.
And so I was listening to that the other day. I really enjoy that instrumental version. It's like a really good ending song for stuff,
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, me being the little nerd in me, when I listen to my own version of that, I just put everything in reverse. So the actual album begins with that, with Patricia.
Oh, okay.
And then moves its way on. So,
well, and I guess we shouldn't talk too much because this is not about the archive box set. It's about BBC sessions. But was all that stuff was kind of extra stuff that's not on from Genesis to Revelation in some. I think a few of them are on there, but a lot of them aren't, right?
No, a lot of them aren't. Yeah, it was just stuff that they had just swimming around. And of course, I think you got I think mostly of the time the drummer that they have on those sessions was John Silver, if I'm not mistaken. Silver, yeah. And then gradually
the first one.
Yeah, and then Chris Stewart came in. But the 3 tracks that do appear on that are the same 3 tracks that appear on here, which is Shepherd, Pasty, and Let Us Now Make Love. And that on that is actually John Mayhew. So what's really cool is that is the Trespass lineup you got on there. And I think what's really cool about it, which I made notes on, I think it's a brilliant transition between Genesis to Revelation and Trespass. It's just, it landed right in the middle there, and you can really hear how their sound is so developing as a band. and I think these tracks are fantastic. Let Us Now Make Love, very folky, and I believe, and I think it was Anthony Phillips who mostly was the driving force behind that one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, these three songs could almost feel like an EP between Genesis Revelation and Trespass, as like a bridging link, to say this is the same band and you can hear it here.
Yeah, no, I can totally hear that. And what's really nice with it, and sadly that they never did it again, was they actually had other members singing. So you got Tony singing on Shepherd in his very.
That's why, I would say, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of From Genesis to Revelation. However, these three songs I love.
Yeah,
and a big part of why I love Shepherd is because hearing Tony sing in his clear, perfect, crisp English, so posh and everything, but it sounds just wonderful. I mean, they really sound like teenagers here. The other part, I mean, look, Let Us Now Make Love, and like whatever it is, the make love till the end of time. Like,
yes,
okay,
now and forever. It's like, my God, someone's going to be sore in the morning by doing Let Us Now Make Love, now and forever, to the end of time. Yeah. And with Anthony Phillips singing that line as well, it makes you think like, okay, he probably did have a good writing.
Since we're talking about these first three tracks, we're going to talk about our negative comments are going to come later, but I will point out the first screw up. So on this, if you look on the disc, it actually says Shepherd and then Pasadena. Mm-hmm. But when you listen to the disc, it goes Pasadena, Shepherd, and then Let Us Now Make Love. And they basically, I was talking about this, and I actually messaged my Genesis Discord I'm on, and they finally go back and said, yeah, here's an announcement. They basically screwed up the packaging.
Oh, wow, really? Okay.
That's what happened.
Yeah. Now, is that on the CD? Because the vinyl version, the track listing is completely different, isn't it?
Yes. These songs do not appear on the vinyl version, and we'll get into that.
Okay, right. Okay.
But speaking of vinyl, I do have this. I randomly found, I think, a few years ago, on actually available through Target, our local shop that I order stuff from. Get shopping from. They had this, and it's a cool yellow thing, but it's actually the BBC Night Ride. It's this recording thing, and so it's the whole. It's got all 6 songs on there and stuff, and so it's kind of cool. And we'll talk about what songs got missed and things like that too. But yeah, there's John Mayhew. It does a list on there too as the drummer.
Well, as we are in the era of the band, what are the other 3 songs that they recorded there?
Stagnation, Looking for Someone, and Twilight Alehouse.
Oh yeah, what Twilight Alehouse? With John Mayhew?
Yep. Actually, that was at a different. It says it live at the Roadhouse, London, 3rd of March, 1970.
Live.
That wasn't released. They said until as a B-side on I Know What I Like. So much later on, even though they'd had the song for 5 years, 6 years at that point.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that. But Twilight Alehouse is not. That's not what's recorded at the Roadhouse in 1970. No.
That's the one we have on here is a different version.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Twilight Alehouse is just. It's nothing. It's just that's just a studio version.
Oh, the one on the record I was showing you. The one on the record I showed you is from Roadhouse. Yeah.
Twilight Alehouse. Oh my God.
You need a close up of the. That's right there. Look, Twilight Alehouse, Roadhouse, 1970. Yeah.
Oh my God. Hang on a minute. It said that was recorded. Hang on. What's the date of the performance of that?
3rd of March.
Well, how about that?
What's the significance of that date? Oh, right, that's right. That's where the BBC sessions came out.
That's right. Yeah, just 11 years later. No, nothing else.
Put it this way: the quality on this is not great, but it's more of a memento of like
Absolutely.
I listen to it and I can imagine these these teens hanging out together, making incredible music and doing their thing. I also thought it was interesting because it lists all the members and what they play and stuff. Yeah. Anthony Banks, not Tony, it says too, along with Anthony Phillips.
Wow.
Apparently Anthony Phillips plays the dulcimer at some point, and then Michael Rutherford plays the cello at some point. I'm not sure.
What the heck?
It could also just be them throwing stuff on here that's not true whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that they talk about. I think it's in the booklet. I can't remember what tune it was, but when they first did the BBC sessions and they were doing, I think things for. I think so, Stagnation and things like that. Yeah, Stagnation, I think what the track was. That Mike and Anthony just overdubbed so many guitars on that. And so the first BBC session with...
On what, Twilight Alehouse you're talking about?
No, on Stagnation, I believe, yeah.
Stagnation. Yeah. That was in the book.
Yeah,
I was reading
in
about
the
that,
book,
yeah.
because they did write it on the 12 string, the two of them, and they said that they just overdubbed so many to try and fill it up, to fill the gaps more, and they learned from that, saying like, sometimes less is more, less is better. And
Exactly,
so
yeah.
when they
Though I disagree. I enjoyed all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it too. But for them, they just felt it was way too overproduced. So when they came back and they had Phil and Steve there with them, actually, though, according to Wikipedia, when they do return and record Stagnation, that apparently was doing the Trespass tour, according to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that couldn't have been a very popular tour.
And I know there was a small error where they were only a 4-piece.
No, it does say according to the booklet, it does say Steve Haggett.
Okay, all right then, fine.
For the version of Stagnation that's on here, yeah.
So
Anyway,
was
go
born.
back to these 3 songs. Yeah, like I said, I really enjoy them. Shepherd, especially for Toadie singing, and he sings on I think the other 2 as well, in backing vocals and
Back in the... Oh, yeah. Make love.
But also, he does some cool organ stuff. Like you see hits of keyboard solos and stuff to come from him, and the chords and things like that. You're like, especially like and it was in the book too. The kind of second part of "Let Us Now Make Love," when those chords come, do 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 do, and it's just like, okay, this is Genesis. This is them finding themselves and developing,
massively,
leading to Trespass. Yeah,
massively. Even with "Let Us Now Make Love," I mean, like we say, it does start off extremely folky, and I mean, it's amusing that the first lyric of a song called "Let Us Now Make Love" is "Please." So I thought it was quite amusing. Please, I beg you, hear this humble voice. You're like, oh, there's such young kids at this point. So
I do enjoy pretty much on all these on this whole disc, maybe except for like Watch of the Skies, because it's all pretty small venues, and you can really hear like and the crowd was very nice and quiet, compared to some bootlegs, but some people just never shut up. But you can really just like hear all the instruments and get a real raw feel for the band and the music and everything too, which is really nice and enjoyable, I think. I did like in the book it mentioned for Phantom of Salmacis and Musical Box, which was from the Paris Theatre in '72. But the notes were talking about how precise the band is in their music, and apparently for the Phantom of Salmacis, it came in at 8 minutes and 1 second, which is exactly the same length as on Nursery Crime. And then for Musical Box, it was 4 seconds shorter. I mean,
I thought that was
precision with the band. Talk about keeping your tempo and being locked in together. That can't be easy.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting to read about that too. And we can just swiftly move on then to the next tracks on the album, and which is the Fountain of Salmacis and Musical Box. So they are performing this then in front of an audience, because you can actually hear then the people.
I think it's
applauding.
a small audience probably. But
small audience, right. And so the host of that, just gotta go. Hang on, I've got the guy's name here. Andy Dunkley. So it's a bit of a strange thing, because you're hearing him speaking in between the tracks. And at first, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrible! Why is some random bloke speaking between the tracks? Why is not Peter doing it?" But then it kind of reminded me a little bit like a late night show host, or whatever, where this guy's hosting the show, and it's like, now we have a band here called Genesis, and these are the songs they're going to be playing, and they play the songs, and then they kind of speak in between as well. And
this show ran from midnight to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So I think they needed it to keep anyone who's still awake listening to be like, who is this?
Right.
But it's cool how excited the guy sounds. Like, I'm very looking for, I haven't heard them with the Mellotron and everything. And I was really impressed with it and everything. So just like, yes, you get what we love.
Yeah. And I liked his little, I keep deciding whether I like it or find it a bit cheesy, where he says,
I think the 3 years rehearsal is well spent.
But and then I think it maybe the guy sounds pretty young. Probably like in his maybe early to mid 20s, something like this, maybe, if that.
Similar age to them,
and because he does introduce the band.
He is not with it. I did look him up yesterday actually, researching. He's no longer with us. But
okay, right. No, but he goes to introduce the band. He's like,
and on bass, you've got Michael Rutherford, and
the audience starts clapping, and it's like, oh right, I better stop then and let them.
I gotta wait a bit.
I gotta wait a bit and then carry on. But actually, with him speaking between, it reminds me of a quick story that I had where I was in a band many years ago, a band called Jaded, and we went to the singer's town. She came from a town called Darlington, and we went we had a gig in the middle of like the city, and we were playing the show, and she was talking, the singer, in between the songs and everything. We got word afterwards that the DJ who would be playing between our sets got really peed off because he was like, "Why the hell is she talking? If they're going to be saying anything between the songs, it should be me." And it was just like, what is he going on about, this guy? What does he think he's doing? He's running a late night show or something? It was just a bizarre little thing to hear. So, but actually,
something about his ego, probably.
Maybe. But actually, when I first heard this on this session, when I heard Sound and the Soundmasters, I was thinking to myself, hang on a minute. This sounds very similar to the performance that they did in Belgium when they went to Belgium, because the album Nursery Crime was the number one album in Belgium, so they went overseas, and that's when you see the lovely photographs of them on this on this ship where they got the life jackets on and everything, because they're literally like sailing going across the seas, but they're playing then, and then you go on like YouTube or whatever, and there is footage on YouTube of them playing in Belgium, in this like studio or something. And when I thought, great version of Soundmasters. And, the filming is a bit cheesy because it's showing like little in between clips of the band or whatever, still shots of the band. Mm-hmm. But when so I heard this, and I was like, this sounds extremely similar to that version. I was like, almost identical. And I was like, hang on, is someone being naughty here and they just nicked it from the Belgium? And I actually played them back. Right. I actually played them in sync together today. And in the beginning, I was kind of like, wait a minute. And then gradually there was no difference. It was in time until a certain point where I think in Belgium the tempo started to increase. And I thought, okay, because Phil's fills are so exact, almost identical. And then reading in the book, it's like how the band was so precise. And it's like, wow, well then you know what? I totally can hear that now. So it turns out
it's just a compliment to them of their
precision and everything.
Skill as musicians,
yeah. And it just, because Phil is so like, and I mean this in a completely good way, busy on the track. And I just thought, like, man, how does he come up with these fills? It's like, well, he's just repeating them again on the next recording, as you can hear right now. So I thought, like, okay, good, no one's being naughty here then, and it just shows how their precision that they are as a band. Yeah, it's just insane.
And I would doubt because he wasn't a big reader of music and stuff like that. I doubt he was writing these down in any way or anything like that. He's just just feeling them totally. Yeah, just feeling it.
And with Musical Box, I mean, it's masterful as always, and it is practically identical to the album and other live versions that we hear of it, at least around that time as well. I mean, you just can't you can't knock it. So. A fantastic follow-up to these three, we're now past the era of John Mayhew and Anthony Phillips, and obviously you can hear a massive difference in the band and how it's...
I was going to say too, I also hear I'm jumping around tracks, but Stagnation leading and then going, it's Harlequin and then it's Getting Out by Friday. I really hear a difference in Phil just getting better with drumming from one year to the next sort of thing.
True.
How more confident he's getting in what he's doing and stuff.
I
thought it was a little weird. They flipped the years, like it's Paris 72, then it goes to 71.
That's true. Yeah.
Then it goes back to 72.
I've just noticed that myself.
Like, why did you go chronological, mates? What's going on here?
I've only just noticed that now. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you can even hear with Phil's like drum kit that it just sounds cheaper on the Stagnation recording. It just sounds really like they're very different to what you hear later on. It sounds more pillowy, and you get to really hear. I mean, when I first heard that, again, this was available in the archive box set that came out in the late 90s as well, Stagnation. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, now we're going to hear how Phil approaches the song compared to John Mayhew, for example. I mean, apologies to Steve Hackett. I'm sorry, I don't really notice him that much in that song, I have to say. There's no guitar solo or anything. It's just keyboards and organ the entire way, really. So and flute and things like that. But you can really hear what Phil does and how much he. I mean, I wouldn't say improve, because I actually was questioning myself today, like, is this the definitive version of Stagnation or is it still Trespass? And I think for me personally, I think Trespass, it just has this very special character about it. And hats off to John Mayhew. I think he just added the right amount of sound to it and everything.
I think again it's going a little back to that the simplicity you're talking about, the less is more thing here.
Yeah.
And because of basically his ineptitude at drumming, it works so well for the song that it makes it
but I like what Phil, I mean, it's kind of strange here that the kind of things that Phil does to be a new drummer in the band and say, okay, now you're going to play the songs that this other drummer did. I mean, I've been exactly in his position, that I've joined bands where I'm now the new drummer and I go to play the songs that they've been playing for years, and they say like, wow, this is actually, and I've been quoted by the band is quoted saying like, oh man, you've actually helped improve the song. You've actually made the whole band and the song sound bigger.
That's what you want, because you want to take what's already been done and use that a bit.
Yeah.
And then make it better in some ways.
Yeah. And
kind of like what Ozzy Floyd does, where they take the Pink Floyd songs and they pause from the original stuff, but like in Comfortably Numb, the guitarist uses various versions of the guitar solos of Comfortably Numb and stuff like that, and just kind of, aggregating it all together in a better way. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's nice to hear that. So beyond Stagnation, then we're back into, we got Harlequin next, which is a very special thing because that's the first time I'm actually hearing Harlequin perform live, by the guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is one that they actually apparently used to open the shows with, at least I think presumably on the Nursery Crime tour. Yeah, they always ended up. They began with the acoustic stuff, and then eventually they were followed by full-on blast your ears with a knife and things like that.
So you can shoot everyone with the knife at the end. Yeah, exactly. Blow their eardrums.
Yeah, and actually, I was listening to Harlequin, and I love the stereo mix. You got like Peter in this ear and Phil in this ear as well, and then you can actually hear other voices. And I'm trying to figure out who are these other voices singing with Phil and with Peter. You could.
So I have a note here. I think it was Tony doing some backing vocals. I feel like in this one.
Okay.
I think because I'm just hearing his voice a bit. Yeah.
That's not it,
because we've already heard it in Shepherd and the earlier songs. So it's like, oh yeah, there it is again.
I kind of felt like it might have been Mike as well. I mean, it could also just be all four of them.
Mike has done a lot of stuff over the years, and we'll hear later on in this thing and stuff like that too. Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of backing vocal stuff. You can't always spot his voice that easily, but yeah.
No, it's not. It is really nice to hear that. And then get him out by Friday.
By Friday.
It's actually quite nice to have like another official live version of that, other than the Genesis Live that we're all familiar with. And I really hear Mike's bass playing in this is freaking awesome. He goes crazy. I can actually hear this one better than I hear on the Genesis Live for some reason. I think because of the sound of the room. We're in more of an enclosed space here, so you can actually hear the sounds more defined in here. And it just kicks bottom.
The smaller venue, yep.
Kicks bottom. So yes, and then we jump back to Nursery Crime material with How of the Barrel. And
a little ditty.
Yeah, I actually put down thinking like actually Phil's drums sound a bit muffled on the mix, but actually it is quoted in the album, in the booklet that they said that the mix here is very different from that, and maybe that was the idea that they actually called it like a bit of a claustrophobic mix, and probably maybe subconsciously that was purposely done because the entire song is quite crazy and you don't really sure what the heck is going on.
And the back and forth almost with Phil and Peter. Yeah.
And I'm actually put in here saying who the heck is singing the echoing "Just Can't Jump," because it does not sound like Phil or Peter at all.
Maybe it was Mike.
It was Mike and Tony. Maybe it was those two who kind of jumped in. And what I really like with this one though is that because you can actually hear Tony what he carries on doing after the fader that we all know. That he's like, oh my god, there's actually more. There's actually more chords there. He's actually throwing in more chords. Yeah,
yes, he can. If he can throw in another chord, he will.
He will. It's fantastic. And then, of course, after that, you've got Twilight Alehouse, and I love this track. And as I say,
I wrote down Phil has a lot of fun playing drums on this song. It's just, and I think it's got the most flute of any Genesis song too.
Ooh, that's an interesting theory.
Because he goes on a lot. Yeah, my mind always Twilight Alehouse is like almost like a sister song to Stagnation. Like they pair together, kind of like what we did We Can't Dance and how No Son of Mine and On the Shoreline are kind of joined together in similar ways. I always feel like that too with how they play around with the sounds and stuff. They're kind of similar, but also just both very strong songs.
Very strong.
Yeah, it's one of those things I do feel like that was a mistake not having that on an album earlier. Even it should have been on Trespass, really.
Yeah, and it was Tony who talked about it, where they said that they did have it. Yeah, it was so going to be on the next album, but then by the time it actually came around, they had a whole bunch of other material to record for it, and they just thought it just got left out. He says he did say at the time that's just how they were. He regrets it now that it was not on the album because it is such a great track, but he just said that's where we were musically back then, so just times change.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did write it down, and he said listening now, he said he thinks it's better than half the songs that ended
Yeah.
up on the album. This is Foxtrot he's talking about.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Should have shrunk down Supper's Ready and thrown it up.
Yeah. Threw it in the middle there or something. You know.
I mean, they played it live a lot, at least, too.
They
which
did.
was good
They
to
did. They
make
did.
recordings of
And
it,
yeah, so I think now there's 3 versions of it that we have. So they've got the original version, and then they play it on Belgium for Belgium TV. And now you have this version as well, BBC version, which I think is, and it feels a lot.
I mean, there's also, I think, there's probably a few more bootlegs out there too. I think
from the live, from live versions and things like that. But actually, this version feels a little bit slow as well, which is quite cool. It's just got a bit more of a I would almost go as far as saying a bit of a grungy feel to it. I don't know.
It's definitely like a journey song that takes you from one place to somewhere very different.
I love it. I love it. I feel
but it never feels rushed. Like it just moves at the right pace the whole time and does what it needs to do and stuff.
And every time I can't help but headbanging at the ending with the it's the kind of riff that it's the kind of riff I wish I bet Metallica wish they wrote or something like that. It's like, man, it's just to hear that riff with the guitar.
And I think this is where where Tony would turn off the Mellotron and that would cause it to go that weird sound and it just turn back on and stuff.
It's just going all crazy, and then the final okay, hold back. It's like, Phil, do your stuff. It's just like Phil's just going mental, like the animal from the Muppets. And I love with the Belgium TV, it is literally looking like watching Animal there, because the guy's just covered in hair. He's got a big beard and big long hair. He wears this creamy T-shirt that at times for years I kept thinking that he's just topless and he's got a strange red tattoo on his chest. Because the T-shirt almost camouflages with his skin because it's so skin-like color, you know.
Yeah, we'll definitely link this in there because the new high def recording is just. I feel it's like watching the Beatles thing. You're like, this feels illegal that I can be like this because I feel like I'm sitting there next to them.
Yeah,
except Phil is 20.
Yeah, and
21,
how did I get to see that footage for the first time before YouTube? I bought it on a copy of a DVD from a Camden market in London for £20. So,
old style bootlegging.
Yes. And a little quick thing about this as well, the riff, the Destiny, that obviously, thanks to Tabletop Genesis, I discovered that actually that was a little bit of a riff that was left off from one of the interludes from the album From Genesis to Revelation, I think. Between, I can't, I'll have to find out though. But yeah, because you hear the riff on Genesis to Revelation, it's like, dun, dun, dun,
I mean, there again, it's just, we talked about this before, but it's another sign of their incredible musicianship that they can, again, it's not like they've got this all recorded and saved somewhere or whatever. They remember all this stuff and bring it back in. It's just so cool.
It's fantastic.
I suppose it's not surprising then they can get back together in 10 or 15 years and just put a whole massive brilliant concert again together, because it's like you've got all this it's already in their genes that they're incredible at this, so it's not that surprising they can just do all this, pull it all together and get it done.
Exactly. So then followed by that,
and then we move on to the last track,
which was the last track on the broadcast. Oh, sorry. On the broadcast, it was actually the first track, which that's it. And this was So what's up next is "Watch of the Skies" in 1975, and you're probably thinking like, well, hang on, wasn't that the year of the Lamb tour? Yes, it was. Yes, that was recorded then as one of the encores for the Lamb tour. I mean,
kill me.
Oh dear. So there are variations of encores they had. I think they encored with Musical Box.
So it was usually Musical Box and Watch of the Skies. I think those were the two, weren't they?
Yeah, I think I heard one that they actually.
That's pretty much it.
I think one that I heard they encored actually with the knife as well. So, but anyway, so the BBC broadcast, they began the broadcasting with Watch of the Skies, the encore from the night. I mean, I guess it's got to be an awesome opener or an awesome closer. So isn't
opener or an awesome closer?
But they began with that, and then the rest of the broadcast was highlights from the concert, basically. So whether that meant they played complete songs or not, I do not know. However, we'll leave a link here that obviously I then tried, because they said, oh, well, people who do have the broadcast from that concert is a very rarity thing to have. So of course I went to look for it. The only thing I could find in completion is Carpet Crawlers from that broadcast. That's it. It was at Wembley Arena. They did it at Wembley Arena. But someone has got an entire playlist from a good chunk of dates from that tour. And I'm talking also about the US dates, a whole chunk of the US dates. Gradually, then they...
Is it the guy who begins with can't remember his name, K something.
I can't remember Freud, but I have the link here.
Because he's been putting up bootlegs and he's been going through each tour and stuff. I don't know where he gets everything.
He's got
it's amazing.
Yeah, he's got literally a playlist of just
hundreds of them.
And
it's fantastic. Yeah.
So on that playlist, that guy, there's the 2 dates there from Wembley Arena, and I think BBC covered the second night there.
Of course, it's special to have this track because it's the swan song for Phil to be leaving. I mean, for Peter to be leaving, right? It's
true.
This is where there's another door closing.
True. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's quite amusing that you can definitely. I mean, it's like, okay, here's a band who's now playing a song that they normally open the show with. They're closing a show after playing for 2 hours already, so you can hear people like Phil. He's definitely warmed up by now, and he's just like going. It's just the stuff he's doing on this is just insane.
And obviously, this was the whatever that last show in France they ever did before Peter said, "That's it, we're done." Mm-hmm. This is what they ended with, presumably, and that was where it came to a close.
Either that, or it was Musical Box. I don't know. So, yeah.
Although they usually did both. But
oh right, I see. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see.
And apparently, according to the notes, this is the most bootlegged recording because of the quality. Oh. In the early on, they have more bootleg stuff, bigger stuff later on. But yeah,
so that is the first CD, and I think it's a great.
That's disc one.
I mean, when you think from where you started off with Shepherd, and then going all the way,
when they were teenagers,
to then Watch of the Skies after a 2 hour crazy journey with a guy called Rail, on this huge tour,
and that's 5 years. That's all.
Yes, that's true.
But it's almost like the Beatles' 5-year period of 65 to 70 that comes. It's ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah.
So straight up then, CD number 2. We begin with the very infamous Knebworth Festival appearance. Their sole UK date on the And Then There Were 3 tour.
Mm-hmm.
Where they appeared not just as their own concert, but at a Knebworth festival. Where they had to actually shorten the set list. They were only on for I think an hour and a half for that show. I think it was raining as well during that show, of course, because Genesis are famous for playing outdoor shows where it pisses down with rain.
In England, it rains a lot.
In the rain, yeah. So,
yeah.
But so it's great to. I was very excited to actually get that on there. I mean, over the years. One of the things I was going to discuss. I think in some way or t'other, if you look hard enough, you could find a good chunk of this already existing on YouTube. All this stuff. And so, but I think it's just nice to have this as a whole collection. And also, you do hear a difference in the sound quality because, as we said, Tony Banks got together with Nick Davis and they kind of remastered this and everything. So you can hear the difference. Now, there is a full version of, I mean, obviously these, due to, I guess, space and everything, that they had to limit the amount of songs that are put onto this. And I think maybe for other reasons they do that for us, because maybe just to not repeat themselves. Because I mean, if they're going to put on the entire set list of And Then There Were 3, the Knebworth Preference, and then just a couple of years later they've got them playing at the Lyceum. There's a good chunk of there that they also play, which is from the same album and same set list.
I mean, I have some things to say, but I'll save it for the negative section.
Sure. Anyway, we'll save it for that.
We'll table that.
Yeah.
But this was the famous Mirrors tour, which I would love to see more footage of one day. There's some, but not much. But I guess in Mike Rutherford's biography, he talks about how they did it, where they directed beams of light up from the stage into the lighting rig, and up there would be these huge moving hexagonal mirrors that would reflect it back down.
Yeah.
Basically, they were trying to make Verilights before Verilights existed.
I love what I'm actually going to read it here as well. He said he was reading about it, and he said what we needed was to get the lights themselves to move. It would be better if they moved and varied their color too. But who would ever think to invent something like that? I actually read that I think maybe I read it a while ago, but it's been a while. And when I read that today, I just laughed my head off at that. I thought it was brilliant. Classic Mike. Yeah. No, but it's great to hear this, and I think, as far as I know, this is the only time where Phil actually, we usually hear on the album that Phil actually does a little bit of an introduction as well, that he introduces Burning Rope. I think on the rest of the entire box set, you don't hear him do that, so it's kind of a random moment to do it. So
it's nice, yeah. And I guess they said they started off with Squonk, which I almost feel like, is that a nod to seconds out in some way, you know.
Maybe, I don't know. But like normally the squonk is quite
Because it was Squonk was 8th in the
yeah,
set list.
yeah. But for this festival appearance, they began with it, yeah. So which is quite cool.
And I like in the notes it said, yeah, Phil considered it one of the heavier songs in the style of Led Zeppelin's Kashmir and When the Levee Breaks, which are two of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs.
Right,
so it makes
yeah.
sense.
I thought
love this
that was
one
quite
so
interesting that they started talking about the kind of like the origin of that song and where it came from on a live box set. I thought it was quite interesting. Yeah, but cool. Great to hear it and everything.
And I love Burning Rope, but it's really nice to hear. Yeah, Tony song, whatever.
Song written by
Mr. Banks, which is always nice that Phil actually says who actually wrote the song. Back in the days when they were solely credited for the writing.
And obviously, this is also the first tour where we're hearing whether Steve's gone, and we have our new young guitarist in Darryl Sturmer.
Mr. Darryl Sturmer. So also then we're hearing things like Mike covering lead stuff, which he on Burning Rope. He does the lead guitar solo on that one.
Yep. Who does Darryl or Mike?
Mike did the on the and then there were, and then there were 3 material. That's the only time where Mike plays guitar. Except for Lady Lies, sorry, I have to say. Except for Lady Lies, that's actually Darryl. So I think because Mike just wanted to play bass. So and maybe
I mean, obviously, I always wonder if it's a I don't want to give you too much you can't handle sort of thing or whatever because this is complicated stuff. But also, it's like once they got more settled in, next tour, Bradley, and future tours, then they just started switching stuff up a lot and doing
massively.
And it definitely was cool because it let Darryl bring his own style into all these Genesis songs and made them his. These live versions of these songs now are like specifically unique because Daryl's doing guitar stuff on them.
I have to say, when I was listening to this for the first time, I purposely did not look at what was on
Track
there.
list?
Set list,
I think I did
particularly
too,
from the CD2. So I was listening to like Squonk, and I had to say I completely forgot that I was listening to Genesis with Darryl. When that ending guitar solo began, I was like, oh man, this is classic Steve. I was like, hang on a minute, this is Nebworth 78. Steve's gone. That's Darryl. It's like, damn, good on you, Darryl. That's brilliant. Again, precision, which is what
For which song?
Squonk, yeah. Yeah, it's particularly the ending where it's got the little guitar solo. Because again, that's Darryl saying when he says the big difference between this band when he played with Jean-Luc Ponty, like jazz, jacuzzi jazz, as he put it. It was a bit like
I've got the
but a couple of days rehearsal, and then you can like go out and improv a lot.
I got the note in here, where he said, Darryl said he was shocked with the precision of the band because they basically got together to do the tour and they rehearsed for 4 weeks.
4 weeks,
like a month of rehearsing.
Yeah,
and he said he's never had that with a band who rehearsed like that. It's like that band you're talking about. It was like they got together for 3 days and then they went out on the road.
Yep, went out on the road exactly.
I mean, again, it all connects up, doesn't it? Why this music is so perfect? Why they're so incredible live?
Yep.
Why they're so brilliant. Also, again with a drum duet, Dance on a Volcano drum duet and Los Endos. So this is the first, because on the Trick tour or whatever, you're getting Dance and then Los Endos to bracket the set sort of thing. Whereas now we're getting it as our first medley. Which is a hint of future medleys.
They did do it on the Seconds Out tour for Wind and Wuthering.
They did. Okay.
Where Chester was there already, and it began. That was the birth of it. Yeah. But obviously, now this is the start where the drum duet just will get longer and longer and longer until it becomes its own solo track in the end. Because where back in the day it was just a little segue. You see, it was very like we're talking like maybe a minute max, if that. Until it got to the point it was like 6 minutes.
I mean, it's fun to see this. When we talk about our next episode, at the end of this episode, we'll hint at that. But just the evolution of medleys as they continue on,
Yes.
Which I almost wonder, like, if Peter and Steve had stayed, that might not have been there because it feels like it's a thing that the three of them.
I don't think it would have. No, I think Steve would have just. Peter in particular would be like, well, when do I get back on stage to start singing again? Yes. I think
we'll give you a few flute notes.
I think Steve would have been fine with it. I mean, again, he was there when they did like the segues between Dance and Los Endos on the Wind and Wuthering tour and plus Lamb into Musical Box, for example, and things like that. So I was
going to say, because you've seen Steve live, haven't you?
Yes, I have seen him twice. I want to say at least twice. I've seen him. So yeah.
But I'm just saying, does he do any medley stuff, kind of, whatever, or join any songs together or anything like that, or just?
Not really. No. I there was a few
No,
years
I'm just
back.
curious again. It's just seeing
Yeah.
how they the medley stuff. How they
He
came up with it.
he does have this medley what he does very specifically back in 2002, whatever. But it was like a medley of stuff. But it was just like one piece. That was it. So yeah. So obviously, though, like I said, I was listening to this without listening to the tracks, and I was like, the track listing. I was like, okay, they got Squonk, yeah, we got Burning Rub and everything, and then you hear the audience going, oh, because Phil's going like,
It's an awesome. Thanks a lot.
oh man, no, you can't be got to the ending already, and it's like, yep, there's Dance of the Vogue again on Los Angeles. It's like, okay, fine, but then it's made up for it because the very next thing that happens after that is the very infamous and freaking awesome Lyceum concert for the Duke tour. And there, I think, apart from Squonk, because we've already just heard it, it is the entire concert.
Well, and it was a couple nights that they picked.
Oh yeah. I mean,
different things from stuff, yeah.
again they omitted Phil's introduction, I guess, for space wise and everything. Again,
But we get the radio intro
from
saying,
Tommy Vance. Yes.
Hi, everybody. This is Thomas the Vance.
This is the most requested thing that you guys want. Like, that's cool to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, and for to right with that. Now I remember this. I mean, this is a very special concert for me because, like, I remember years ago when I was still living in London. Again, before access to YouTube or things like that I actually bought a bootleg copy of the Lyceum performance on eBay. And when it arrived, I was like, okay, I paid about 20 quid for this or something like that. And it's like, okay, looks very cheap the way the design. I opened it up and it's like, oh my god, that's a printed on CD. I put it on, the concert began and the music began. I was like, okay, so far so good. And I was just dreading when Phil was about to start singing.
The quality
for Deep in the Motherlone. Phil began, it's like, the quality's amazing. It's amazing.
Because they got it off the radio. Yep.
Well, this is the thing, though.
Yeah.
I read that the audio was recorded the first night, and the second night was when the cameras were there. You see, but yet you can see that there's footage of because Phil's wearing Hawaiian shirts, whatever, and one night he's got a blue Hawaiian shirt on, and another night he's got a yellow Hawaiian shirt. And again, I've got a link. We can send a link here that there is the full version on YouTube. But it is interspersed. You got Phil at one point wearing a yellow shirt, the next thing is in a blue shirt, and there's also like some very handheld camera work just for a cameraman getting ready to be put into position from the director saying, right, now film that, and you see them literally moving around to get to the next spot there, and all that is still on this footage, you see. So you got like very rare things of seeing Phil, for example, playing with Roland, quote Phil, the bisexual drum machine. We actually see him programming it and turning knobs and things like this. And then on Ripples as well, you actually see Phil playing a keyboard. And because
Maybe is it like bass notes or something?
yeah, well, basically, like the footage that I got, apparently the for some reason the video footage of Ripples, the beginning of it, the first half of it, just is non-existent. You know, and the version that I got, it was like you realize, oh, this has been recorded off like a VHS, because suddenly it's just like you see just a bunch of like weird tracking, and then it comes back in. Audio sounds a little bit weird at first. Once the tape starts straightening out, and again, then it's there, and it literally comes back in with the visual of the ending of the instrumental section. And all this is a beautiful shot, camera panning around, but you literally see Phil with his hands on the keyboard. And then on the YouTube version, you got like a different angle from Phil, and I think those little fuzzy hard chords at the very bottom that's playing underneath Tony with the twinkly piano. Those apparently that's Phil playing that.
We're right on the cusp of face value here and all his solo stuff.
There you go. Yeah, and but there is Phil there doing that stuff. You see, so it's quite cool to see these the sort of things. Again, we'll send all the link to that anyway.
Well, and then in the notes it did say this is the most bootlegged show of Genesis' career, because of the quality and because it's a flipping amazing show.
Oh man,
the song list and everything, you know.
The show is insane. So to save me hopefully not appearing in the dark forever, just gonna put a little light there. So there. Now I've got my phone light on me, so I hope that's okay for everyone. Got no choice.
As long as you go at some point, it'll look very cool.
Yes. It's like a jungle sometimes.
What was I gonna say? And this was a kind of a flip to with the and then there were 3 tour where they only did one England show and then went all around the world and did all this stuff. This time they're like, okay, we're coming back to England. We're going to dedicate some time. I think there was what do they do? 44 shows or something. in
44
England, they said?
shows. They
Yeah.
even
And the
went.
key was it was. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, they went to areas in England that they've never even been to before as well. That was the dedication
Right.
they did to it. Yeah.
What did I see? Like Great Yarmouth and stuff.
Yeah.
But also it was smaller venues too. Again,
Yes.
which is you get a cool, intimate feel with it. You know.
It was theatre venues they were doing for this particular UK tour, and again, Phil. Though I mean, I love that someone quoted. There was a comment from this show where they said like, okay, people who know Phil as the guy who sung things like "You Can't Hurry Love" and "Sussudio," thinking he's just a cheesy, corny party dude, send them to this and said, no, this guy, look, this is what this guy can also do.
He's got an edge.
I mean, okay, I got a little bit like scared watching, not scared, but I'm like, man, I wouldn't want to see this guy at a party acting like that, you know. I mean, even Phil himself, he says he can't watch that. He was way too over the top back then. But again, we mustn't mustn't forget of where he was in that time. You know, he just went through an extremely unpleasant divorce. He's living
a bit of a drinking problem.
He's living alone. You know, he's like, well, I might as well just do whatever. But he is on fire on this performance. His voice is astounding. And I think because of all that to bear in mind, plus he's doing his theatre performances, which he probably loves as well. And someone said like, oh, because Phil's back in the theatre, then comes the characters coming out.
Well, the point I wanted to make with this too is, so like you had the mirror, you know, the sort of called mirror shows for, and then there were 3 and stuff, and they wanted to do cool effects and things like that. Now all of a sudden you're in small venues, you can't do that. You just have the stripped down band.
Yep.
It's just the band on the stage doing what they do best, and so you've got to bring something else to it, another dimension, and that's what Phil did.
Yeah,
making it more of an entertainment thing without special effects.
Yeah, and you still got cool lighting stuff going on, but yeah, you've got extra things happening there, and it's just, I think the sound and everything, the atmosphere is just totally electric. Apparently, my old drum teacher Paul Elliott, he was at one of those shows as well.
Oh, that's what you said in the previous episode. Yeah, you did.
One of those shows as well. And so I think that, but because of all that, to bear in mind with the size of the venues where Phil was emotionally as well, and with that, we saw a performance of Phil that he never did again. He never repeated that kind of performance, and it kind of reminded.
You take some of these things away, you can't. You don't get that same performance.
It reminds me of when Sting. He was all set to do this wonderful performance at his like villa in Italy. And the whole thing was being recorded. It was going to be a fantastic electrical night. He did one night beforehand, which was brilliant, which was September 10th.
Like a select group of people invited and stuff.
Private party, fantastic musicians. It was a very electric atmosphere. He played the night before where they had some cameras there to test everything out. And then the day of the actual performance was September 11th, 2001. So the performance still went ahead after much speculation and discussion. And Sting said he sung... he was obviously in a very particularly strange place that night, and he also lost people, you know, at the Twin Towers and things like this. Right. He said he sung that night. He will never sing like that again. He said he was in a very emotional state that night, obviously, and he said the way he sung that night was totally different to the way he ever sung, and he says he'll never sing like that again. And that's how I saw with Phil with this performance. Like, my God, this guy's just an astounding front man. He's just got some oomph and aggression and all these things coming out all in one go, and very strong big theatrics, especially Lady Lies and things like this, you know. And we never see that again. You know, we see a little glimpse of it with the Abacab tour.
Well, I guess he's at his cusp because he's 29 here. He's like, he's, you know, it's just going to start going downhill from here as he gets older.
Yeah, but it's a phenomenal.
For how much power you can bring to it,
yeah, but it's a phenomenal
and
thing.
have the whole thing here. It's very
and
cool.
We have, and I kind of
also
forgot
having
about that. We have the whole thing here.
The Duke Suite. The Duke Suite in its entirety. Oh God, it's good. Like, it's almost even more special because we didn't get it that way on the album, but we get it here performed live. Yeah. It's so incredible. Yeah.
And it's really nice to have to watch Turn It On again in its infancy as well, because
before it becomes such a big you know, the crowd and whatever it is, you know, the thing that comes on later. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because to me that song, it was a bit of like a case of Benjamin Button. I kind of watched the song, and as the more I got to know about it, the more I got to watch more footage of it, but going backwards in time. It's becoming younger and younger.
I mean, it's a bit like Phil's Take Me Home, when it was just, you know, No Jack Required tour. It was just a song.
Just a song, yeah.
And then, and then it became the closer for everything and such a big thing. Yep.
There you go. As did Turn It On Again, so up until the reunion tours, where it was then the opener for the shows. But
which is then they intentionally did that to flip it. Which again, you have a similar thing with Watcher and stuff like that.
there you go.
It all comes back together.
But I particularly like this one because it's very punchy. But I really like that at the chorus at the end. When you finally get the chorus, he's singing it. Phil just keeps singing that turn it on again, and it just keeps going and going and going, and not nowhere in a boring way whatsoever. It's just you freaking love it, because the years after that you've got
what drugs is he on? I need some.
It's like after that, he still does on the Abacab tour and things like this, but then eventually comes like, okay, we're going to introduce the band now, and now we're going to play a medley of classic Motown songs, things like this, that medley. It's really great just to have just the song itself and going
the raw hard song. It's kind of birthplace almost of it was part of this suite. Which was originally intended.
Yeah, and the fact being that Mike originally just had this riff, which was supposed to be just a segue between the two pieces, and then they just said this sounds great. Can we make our own song out of it? Which became a single, and a great big single for them too.
Yep.
And then you get the answer finally. For years we kept seeing Phil would play the song and then he'll go to the drums and then they'll play the drums at the end of the song and then we'll finish. Here, watching this, you see why Phil ended up doing that, because he made his way over to the drums, played the drums, and the ending of that is much shorter, but then of course immediately after that follows the Duke Travels, which he begins the drums on. So this is your answer why Phil always just kept on doing that. Why he did that. So I thought okay, now we all know why. And then
why did he go with the drum kit for 20 seconds?
Yeah, you think why? Just because just to play at the end of the song is no, now you know why. But then of course you've got then the start of the whole Duke's Travels, and my God, just holy crap! I mean, you think man, it's awesome to listen to Los Angeles. It's well, just hold my beer, just listen to this as well.
That's definitely one of the if I could, I'd like to go back and listen to that live in person.
Man, and again, a bunch of 29-year-olds here, 29, 30-year-olds here, just playing this, and they're just on fire and so electric. And but what's nice again, going with the video, again, strange camera work happening here. You can probably hear a really massive cowbell banging away in the background, which is what Chester's doing. The camera actually swings around, and there you can see Chester playing on this cowbell, going and then hitting a little tiny cymbal there too. And Chester just doing his, I must concentrate, I must play professionally, I must be professional here and do everything exactly right and everything.
Yeah, but again, hearing how focused they always were and rehearsing and stuff and getting, I mean, this is why he's like that. It looks like you're ridiculous and over the top. It's no, he's just taking it as serious as everyone else does in the band. That's what it is. So
it was great to actually have that again, where they brought it back for the Turn It On Again tour. Little bits of that as well, you see, for the which
just to refresh that medley that you usually do in some way. Because you never, especially when you didn't expect it coming, you're like, man, I've still got. I actually was filming that thing, and I've still got footage of me watching me filming it, and that begins. And I'm behind the camera going oh my god, oh effing great, oh my god. But so again, this is just the Duke Suite, right, that we've got, and it was just oh my god, this concert's just insane, and plus that's the end of disc number 2. That's right. I think I did have this on a I found a bootleg vinyl copy of I don't know if it was this show. I think it was a selection of a few things, but I think it does have the Duke Suite on there. But again, quality isn't that great. So that's all I had at this point. And then to have it on here now, is really great.
It is great to have it.
In a way I can easily play it in the car on a CD player.
Yep, there you go. And then disc 3 begins with good old "Say It's Alright, Joe."
And the second half of the set, and yes, that one did become infamous in the negative sense because drew it out to like an almost 10-minute song.
Well, it's weird. It's actually
drunk
weird.
And swaggering.
Yeah, for some reason I heard it today and I did not mind the beginning part. Maybe because I didn't have the whole Phil chatting.
Maybe because you
minutes.
weren't ready, waiting to play the next note on the piano, and Tony's like, "Get up!"
Yeah. Now, I was doing my nerdy thing, and I kept trying to sync up the audio with the version that does exist on YouTube. Most of it does not sync up. The tempo changes, things like that. This one, though, for some reason, Say It Ours Joe, is exactly that version. So whatever you have, on that YouTube version is well, whatever this one is one on YouTube there. Yeah. So it syncs up perfect because in between that thing, Phil's going like, "Say it's alright, Joe." Yeah.
I mean, again, it's all part of the.
It's all drawn
He's
out.
in a theater and he's performing.
Yeah, but all that is on the video as well. So yeah, and like I said, I did not mind it, but maybe it's because we didn't have the whole Phil stumbling, getting his coat on, his hat on. Thank you very much. Oh, you'll talk about the song. Oh, I don't know. It's like,
It's a little bit of a almost dangerously going back to Peter and his costumes of like, can we just hear the music, please?
Yep. A little glimpse of that, yeah. But then it makes up for it by kicking ass with The Lady Lies, followed by that. And it's like, oh man, this is just so. Yeah, no, it's insane.
Ripples and In the Cage.
Oh yes,
Little hint of the In the Cage medley for the first time.
that's right. Well, it's lovely to hear Ripples, a great version. As we talked about, Phil was playing the keys at the end of it, but it's a really lovely version, and it's particularly, and the crowd is singing along tremendously, huge. And
That one, honestly, it always is especially the. I can't remember what the song is called. Is it called Sail Away or Come Sail Away? There's a rock song. I can't remember who does it even. It's like a 70s rock song where it starts out differently and then,
Enya?
No, it's not Enya. It's no, it's a different one. It was on the show Freaks and Geeks. I remember it's a big red kind of rock song, but the second half of the song is them just rocking out to saying, "Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me." And this Ripples always kind of rides me that the chorus does a bit.
Well, I particularly love how they kind of, just before they finish the instrumental back into the chorus again, they do a musical tone what's called ritardo, where they actually slow down. And then they bring it back up again, you see. So yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't actually talk about. I mean, we don't have to talk about every single song of this, I know, so it's just a phenomenal version. I mean, you got the to me, by the way, just jumping back quickly a few songs. To me, you got the definitive version of "One for the Vine." It's just by far the best version. It's very special again, characteristically on the album "Win the Ruddy." But it's just an insane version. And I wanted to say, Deep in the Motherlode, Daryl and Chester, they own that song because their bass and the drums, they're just so in sync, especially in that whole middle section. Doom, 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 doom. That line and everything is fantastic. So yeah.
By the way, so the song is called. I just looked it up. The song is called "Come Sail Away" and it's by Styx.
Styx. Okay.
So listen to that one and see if it reminds you of Ripples. Yeah.
I will. Maybe I know the song. I don't know. But yeah, so In the Cage. That's right. The In the Cage medley. That's right. This is the first time actually that they actually are segueing In the Cage into something else, because on the In the Middle 3 tour, they just played In the Cage by itself.
Just played the whole song, yep. Right, so again, we're starting to get little, hints of another future medley.
Yeah, so they go into, that's right, Slipperman, calling them Slipperman solo, then straight into Afterglow. Now, compared to what does come in between In the Cage and Afterglow from years to come, I actually was quite shocked by how quick it was. Before we knew it, it was like, the instrumental section's already done, we're already into Afterglow.
Here's Afterglow, yeah.
But
we'll get there, it's just down the road
we will get there. But again, fantastic, and seeing the lighting and all that as well. With I know I keep talking about the video. I mean, this is the box set. We're talking about the audio version.
Yeah.
So amazing. Oh, so what's coming next is Follow Me. I was very happy to hear when this started. Now, nerdy me, I can recognize versions of songs not by the way they're playing, but by how the audience is reacting and the particular types of hoots and whistles and things like this. This version of Follow Me is the one that exists on 3 Sides Live. Yes,
I think I might have noticed that too, with how perfectly exact it is.
You play those two back to back. It's exactly the same version. So
now, because you've seen the video too, like Phil doesn't play drums though, does he?
No, it's just
okay. Was that a now? Do you know if he's ever played drums for that song like it did, or was it just a unique thing to the Turn It On Again tour?
Oh, it was just for the Turn It On Again tour because it was Tony's idea. It was someone's idea.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not Tony's idea, but it was.
Who's over there?
It was this guy. No, it was someone's idea.
Who's over there?
Someone's idea. It was this guy.
Donald Duck's. Okay, got it. Donald Duck's idea.
Yes. No, I can't remember. It was someone's idea. I don't think it was Phil's. It might have been Mike's. I don't know. Anyway, someone's idea. Maybe it was. I think it might have been Daryl's. Anyway, but yeah.
Maybe Chester.
Maybe
That's
Chester.
all we got left.
Maybe it was Tony Smith. Who knows? we just go through the entire crew now. We've got
Maybe it was, what's his drum tech? Put it, whatever his name is.
Yeah, was Andy? Was it Doug? Catering, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so it's great to hear that. The ending is quite different to the ending.
Actually, I know it was his third ex-wife. That's who was.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's nice to have a straightforward ending because the endings that we know from Folio for Me, they kind of finish with a do 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 do. This one is just this one is just kind of like do 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 do. Now, of course, what the original set was for that, what came straight away after that was Dance on the Volcano Los Endos. But as we've had already with the previous thing, we've gone straight into the encore, which is I Know What I Like. Again, arguably the definitive version here, perhaps. Who knows? You know, it's pretty.
Is this the one you like the best? I can't remember if it is or not.
Actually,
We decided.
No. I think it was from the Tony Onagan tour. I think I liked the best. So yeah,
that's right. That's what you said. Yeah.
Although, again, sorry, I'm going back to the visual here. It is very amusing to when you're hearing on the album here saying like, "Wow, Phil is really banging that tambourine at that point." That's because he's smacking Mike Rutherford in the head with it. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Your show.
So you're saying actually it's Mike's head that's giving that unique sound.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Careful with that brain. It's brilliant.
A great version, and then
round it off with...
when this kicked off on the BBC broadcast, one thing I got goosebumps over, not by what began here, but by the audience's reaction. They flip a brick,
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
This is a thing I've been waiting for a long time, because I think I heard about it a long time ago that they did the knife once with Phil singing. I was like, what?
Yep.
And I didn't get to hear it for a long time. I think I found it on a bootleg once. And
I tell you what, when I first heard, I did manage to hear a version, and I presume maybe it was this one, because I don't know if they might have done on the ABBA tour. I can't remember. I think I might have heard that they did one encore on the ABBA tour in America somewhere. And that was literally
actually, this is on that bootleg vinyl I've got. This is on there, which and half the reason I got that was because they had the knife on there.
Oh, okay,
again, in crap quality, but at least I had it.
No, but I remember having a version of this downloaded from Napster. So we're talking like 96, 97. I'm like, wow, Phil's doing the knife. Anyway,
imagine if they pulled that out in 2007.
Oh my God. Well, you presume that after they've just done Los Angeles, it's like, right, that's into the show. Now they've just come back out for I Know What I Like. It's like, okay, well, now I'm spent. It's like, now we've got one more thing to play for you there. And
I've
then
sung along, I've got nothing left.
And again,
they turned it to 11.
Yeah. And again, sorry, one more time visually with this, I think that song was so spontaneous, maybe not spontaneous, but such a thing that no one expected it. The only camera footage you've got of it is literally a camera guy on the side of the stage there, just filming Phil. That's it. It's nothing from the audience, because I don't think they were expecting the guys to do anything more. I think they were officially done, you see. So that's how rare it was, and Phil's topless, by the way, as well. But the version is incredible. I totally get why they cut up the entire quiet section. I mean, considering how loud the audience is in all the quiet moments of that song, I think you would hear more audience than the actual boom, boom.
The actual playing, the slow build and stuff. Yeah.
So I totally get why they did that version, and then like just the shorter version. Just
maybe if you play it earlier on the set, you can hear that better because the crowd isn't quite so crazy or something.
Yeah.
Because of where it is here.
But man, it's just insane. Just an insane version. So yeah. And then we jump.
And just when you think Genesis can't get any bigger, they pull this little Invisible Touch album out and then go on a massive tour.
Yeah, we've jumped a few years now.
Shock the world.
We've jumped a couple of albums too, actually. So yeah, we're now three albums down the way on this massive tour. And 7 years later, yeah. Jeez, wow, yeah. Yeah, so the Invisible Touch tour. Now, this BBC broadcast I was very excited to hear about as well, because I thought, oh, hang on a minute. I recall many, many years ago, still living with my folks, I had a friend called Andrew Thompson. Tall guy. He knew I was a Genesis fan, and he gave me a cassette that belonged to his dad. He recorded off of the radio, BBC Radio, the broadcast version of this.
Broadcast of it.
Which was
that's cool.
Which was obviously not only their last night at Wembley Stadium, but it was the last night of their tour. The
whole tour.
Sadly, it wasn't the entire concert because it ran out. The tape ran out doing like Second Home by the Sea, so it wasn't the entire concert. So it was great. It was great to finally have this. You know, even if it's not.
Actually, I got it noted here. So it was a 111 show tour.
No, that's big.
4 nights at Wembley's with 86,000 people. Also big.
Also big. Yeah.
And that's where you've got the incredible footage of where you see the bit is always the bit where Phil's doing the intro for Home by the Sea, and then when they turn on the lights to get everyone to start going ooh, and then you see the sea of people. It's just like I'm showing that to my kids and stuff just because it's so mind blowing just to watch all that.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive, that.
Pinnacle of their career, a highlight of their career, right? It was just.
And also, Phil was really apparently happy because he's a big football fan, and then to do this to sold out crowds at the premier football stadium in the country is special.
True,
Yeah.
true, yeah. And a great set list to have, and yeah, again, it's pretty much the entire concert, I'd say. And yeah,
Of one night, yeah.
the first and the only time you get a song repeated as well, which of course is Los Angeles, which I do not mind. That's fun.
It is like if you're going to repeat a song, it should be our favorite at least.
Well, I was thinking up to this. I mean, pretty much up to this point, you could be really nerdy here and just create the ultimate live Genesis set list with just all these songs put together.
I mean, it's quite actually impressive they haven't repeated more songs because it's hard to do.
Yeah.
At this point,
So then we've got post Phil era. We've got then the Ray Wilson era. Now I recall getting a copy from you actually of a BBC broadcast recording of them at Wembley. The Birmingham NEC. And you had a copy.
That's where this is from, yeah.
You had a copy of this in your home, and I remember I remember grabbing it, burning it onto my computer.
Audio, right? Not video, like a
Audio,
CD.
yeah, just audio, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Might have it somewhere,
again,
yeah.
it's pretty much the entire version. I think a couple of things were left out of it, So, but otherwise that. So I was a bit okay, gonna jump on a slightly negative bit then. Bit disappointed they only just included 2 songs from that. We just had an entire
For this thing, yeah.
For this thing, yeah. It was like, and again, it's like okay, bit of a
I mean, I guess we should be happy this is really the first time it feels like Genesis on a record has acknowledged that Calling All Stations exists and that they did a tour from it. Because it feels like a lot of it before is just like, that never happened. What are you talking about? And Ray Wilson's like, but I had a 2-album deal. That never happened.
That never happened. Yes. No,
So, I mean, yes, it's weird, but it's also, I'm glad we've got something.
Oh yeah. I'm glad we got something and a good choice of songs as well. Not About Us and Dividing Line, which is a fantastic track and a fantastic live track to have as well.
Which apparently I was reading, I can't remember where I was reading it. Somewhere I was reading that, because it's near Z on drums, that was like, the song originally came out of his audition piece he did for them. And then when they were doing the Dividing Line, they're like, yeah, just go crazy on drums, do whatever you want. And he pulled from his audition piece basically for that song when he was recording it.
Oh, really?
He just went absolutely crazy. And he's like, I never expected to be told, yeah, you can take as much time as you want, do whatever you want for this drum solo. That's when he did it.
I did not know that. That's amazing. Wow.
Because it is a unique drum solo.
Yes, it is indeed. Yeah. So again, we've gone back to. So obviously, purposely, we're jumping back a few years, aren't we? So we did there. Now we've gone back to '92.
Right, it's weird. I think it's. I mean, I don't know if it's because of space or how they did it this way. It's
no,
weird
I think they just
goes to '98 and then jumps.
Well, again, with the
to
with the box set, the Genesis video show, for example, they begin with reverse chronological order, but not with the Ray Wilson era. With the Phil era, they begin with the We Can't Dance stuff, and then they go back, and then the actual thing finishes with Ray Wilson stuff, and then it's the Carpet Crawlers 1999 version. You see, so
It felt almost like we've got a little room on CD4. What do you want to do, Tony? And he's like, let's throw on some Calling All Stations. Really piss off the fans.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. No, it's great to have, and as you say, it's great to acknowledge, at least from a live perspective as well, for a change, to have some Ray Wilson stuff in there too, and with Nosy as well. So yeah. And then the last thing on the album, the thing that, well, if you, me and Virgil fans have been with us since the very beginning, then you'll know what this will be all about. How excited we are to have this on a BBC official release. This is where it all started. Yes, their famous Nebworth concert from '92, the one where it all began for Virgil and me.
One on the cover.
That's right. It's there on the cover. Here it is, folks.
Yep.
Few people. And yeah. Actually, how many was there? Like, I actually don't know. 80,000, maybe more. I don't know. So yeah,
I think
the We Can Dance tour, '92. Their last date, apparently at the time it was, until they then added a few extra late autumn shows, I think, in the UK. But otherwise, Yeah, officially for the European tour. Let's just call it that. There was this last date. August 2nd, am I not mistaken? The date of the performance, I think.
I don't know. Don't look at me.
Oh, no. It
Ask
was,
that guy. Why do you check with Donald Duck?
yeah. Actually, maybe it was July. I should know this. So, considering how rare, how awesome the concert is
It
for us.
wasn't March 3rd, put it that way.
It wasn't March 3rd, no. But anyway, a great thing to have. Obviously, when we got the version way back in the day on the VHS, the quality was pretty terrible. Then we found out actually that was due to the broadcast version. That was due to the live broadcasting version, and they even said at some point we couldn't really hear much. It just sounded like Phil, and everything was on the water. And even the broadcast channel said itself underneath, "We apologise for the poor sound quality. This is being rectified."
Well, and that's actually in the book a bit too, because this is coming to the end of Phil's career with Genesis, for new material and doing stuff, and that was kind of featured in there. I think that we're doing these massive, like, festival gigs and things like this. It's hard sometimes to have that sound like that because there's so many people and there's so much noise.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But you can really hear
And
it.
it was also like, I think it's the other part that it's talking about was, where could he go next? I mean, you can't get. Can you get bigger than this?
No.
Do you want the pressure of trying to get bigger than this?
Yeah. And I think he finally got on his head like, okay, I've been touring. I did my solo tour for almost 2 years. So the next thing I do is jump back in an album with Genesis, and then I do another tour. Then I do the Both Sides, album, which was a massive tour for him to there and everything. So I think he finally came to terms with the fact, like, maybe there's something I should knock on their head here.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we didn't actually, I forgot we did have in the notes to do earlier on, is to talk about the packaging of the box set, which is really cool because it comes with this nice book with all the pictures and pages, old ticket stubs and things like that. There's the various discs that have all the different cool pictures on them and stuff like that.
Very cool. Yep.
I just thought it was really late because they could have, like the archive box set, it's like a thing where you click each CD in and stuff like that. This felt very, by the time it's come out, a very kind of like environmentally conscious. There's no plastic or anything. Everything's all like paper and stuff like that too,
That's
recycled
true.
stuff and things like that.
That's true.
I really like the layout of it and how it was done and stuff like that too. I thought.
I do. The only negative thing for me with the packaging, at least with the pictures on the inside, there's a whole bunch of photographs in there, which is great, of the band. However, they are extremely randomly placed throughout the book.
Yes,
for sure.
I would agree with that. It's even a little thrown together.
Yeah, it's definitely thrown together.
Wait, before we dive into negative central,
Yes. Okay. Fine.
let's quickly give our. Would you say the favorite tracks?
Oh my
Favorite
God.
bits of the album.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I guess we say.
That's
Okay,
impossible.
I'm gonna make it hard then. Pick your favorite track or your favorite
CD.
favorite group off the album. I don't know, 1 to 3. Yeah, whichever you want. Yeah, you can pick one track. You can pick 3 tracks. However you want to do it.
Okay.
What's your favorite? Almost like what's your favorite moment on the album? Should I say? Then maybe it might be a group of songs that way or something like that too. Yeah.
Okay. Pasadena.
You have 5 seconds.
Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
Then Twilight Ale House, just because I always love it.
Yeah.
Does the Duke Suite count?
Well, that's what I'm gonna pick.
Okay, right. Good.
I'm just gonna say Duke Suite. That's my high point of this box set.
the Duke Suite, and the old medley. Even though I've heard it 100 times, but I just still love it, and it's great to have it finally officially released. So,
and well, we got it on Volume 2, the longs, but yes. You mean the Nebworth version?
Oh, the Nebworth version, just because it's where I first heard it, and I love every sense of it.
They've done a lot of medleys, a lot of fantastic medleys, but this one was just like to be this along in your career and to almost be winding down and know it, and then to come up with this and throw this thing together is just like amazing.
And the first time we watched it was all new for us, so it was just like, what are these songs? This is all crazy stuff.
I mean, so it was perfect in some ways because it was like, here's little snippets of all these songs. You're like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And then you go back and find out.
Yeah,
and you hear where it comes from, all the way back to 72.
All right, so it's just the Duke Suite for you, yes? The two
totally 71. Yeah, Duke Suite. I'll go with.
All right, cool. All right. Shall we then
All
begin,
right.
begin the negative?
So if you don't want to hear any negative versions, you might want to skip ahead.
Yeah.
If you want this box set to remain perfect for you, skip ahead.
Right. Yeah. Skipping ahead now.
All right.
Well, do you have a least favorite track then on this album?
So yes, the packaging. It does seem very. I do feel like there was. I don't know if Tony wasn't as involved, if it was rushed.
I don't
or
think
what,
so.
but it
I don't
does
think so
feel
at all. I don't think so at all. I think it was just whoever it was. Tony had no say in this whatsoever. And yeah,
It
because
feels very thrown together.
they definitely were in a sense of
Well, I did want to
throwing it
show
all
you,
away.
my vote thing has made in Deutschland on it, which is kind of cool.
Oh, it does? Really? Okay.
Yeah. Did yours?
I can't see that anyway here.
Anyway, it's not that big of a deal.
Anyway, doesn't matter. I kind of thought like, great, we're going to see some really maybe cool, very rare pictures. For example, with the band with John Mayhew, for example. But no, we don't. The whoever did this, they are really big fans of the Phil, Tony, Mike era. That's for sure.
I don't know, but it was weird how you'd see stuff of like you saw some Peter stuff later on in the booklet, which is like, wait, what? We've moved on here.
We're not there now.
Why are we seeing this? Yeah.
Plus this Nebworth thing that appears about like 5 times throughout the entire book as well. It's like I get it. It was a big thing for them, but you don't have to keep showing it. All right. You don't have to keep showing it. It's fine.
I like the cover thing. It's kind of cool, but I think they could have done something better. Like, for example,
I agree.
Archive Volume 1, that's that beautiful shot of them in New York with all 5 of them and stuff, you know? It's just like, they could have done something better with this.
Well, actually, I mean, a bit cheesy, but that's pretty cool, though, with the 3 of them.
That's pretty
put
cool
in
too,
front of the
yeah.
put in front of the BBC Centre.
Yeah.
Not that they were officially there; they've just been photoshopped or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've got like the Darryl Storer era, and then ironically, there's a picture with the band with Steve Hackett. It's like, are you aware of what you're doing here? I mean, they do.
Packaging,
they do pay respect. For example, the Visible Touch era, you got a shot of the Wembley performance.
Yeah.
But then you've got the very next page is a shot of
and
Mike from '77.
Whoever the guy was who wrote whoever the guy who wrote the piece in here was, it didn't feel that unique in any way. It just felt another Genesis history rehashing bit in the book, you know, and especially with the ending and Phil had to leave, and they didn't like him during the late '80s because of all the commercial stuff and all this stuff, and it's just like. Michael Hann, his name was, similar to what the guy. I'm not a fan of him.
Yeah, similar to whoever wrote in the video box. I think it was the video box set or something like that they put in there. The guy's just basically replicating what he's seeing on the video. That's it. It's kind of like okay.
I mean, I did listen he did talk about like with Invisible Touch that I thought it was all this commercial stuff, but there's stuff like Domino, Tonight, and all that stuff that. You have prog stuff in there, you know, that you can enjoy, which is like, yes, that's true, but you still are going all negative and doing what everyone else who has negative stuff to say is saying about it.
No.
It is weird. I feel that because I was going through and looked up on Setlist FM, each of these gigs and stuff like that, and seeing how there was more songs from the certain sets, and then some of them where they jump like they're from the same shows or whatever, like Sounds of the 70s and things like that. It's like, that's the same gig. Why did you put a different song? Like, so it's Stagnation. Which one was it? No, it's Harlequin, Get 'Em Out by Friday, and then Harold the Barrel. Harold the Barrel was from the same gig with Harlequin. So why didn't you just stick those together? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
That's true. Yes. Yeah.
And then
point.
we talk about what they feel was missing off here. What did they neglect? Okay. We'll talk about this first. What did you feel was missing? What did you want that wasn't on here?
Well, yeah, like I said, when we heard like, this is the Nebworth performance from '78, fantastic. We've got Squam, we've got Burning Robe, and then what we got next? Last song. What? You kidding me?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Where's the rest of it?
Here I'm not even going to go over it, but I got the link here of all the songs they played from that gig, and it's like, we could have had that too.
Yeah.
Like
again,
you can give us 6 discs, 7 discs. We will pay for that.
Yeah.
That's what these big box sets are supposed to be.
Again, it's I get why, because it's like, well, we're now just repeating songs and repeating performances, you know, because what we got on the Lyceum performance is pretty much a good chunk of the set list they played at the Nebworth show, you see, and that's my only reason why. I can't think to see why we're in the CD world here. It's not like we don't have any space left, right? It's not like this is on a vinyl.
Exactly.
It's not like this is on a vinyl.
Limited.
We're not going to limit the quality because we're putting on more stuff like a vinyl.
Yeah.
we have the space.
Right.
And that's the only reason why I think that that's why they did that. Or Tony did that. Why Tony had the same.
See, that's why I feel they could have redone this in a different way by having either 1 or 2 discs to cover each kind of concert. You can have like an early disc, kind of like, actually, honestly, the first disc, they probably keep it as is. But then let's have disc 2 be Mirrors Tour. Disc 3 or disc 3 or 4, whatever, 4 or 5 be the Lyceum gig. We want Wembley. And then, honestly, that could be it. Because, again, the Nebworth stuff is nice, but we have all that stuff off the shorts and the longs, really. I mean, the Nebworth thing at the end is practically the longs, again, with fading lights and old Bentley and driving the last bike.
True,
and it's like,
true.
and the drum G. It's just like, I feel like we've got all this stuff already on album. Why couldn't you give us this in some way? That would be my think of how that might have given it a better structure, I think, to it. But that's my feeling. And you also could have then thrown on a disc, probably just one disc would have been enough, of the entire Calling All Stations concert too.
Yeah.
Again, that's never been released in any form.
No, that would have been really nice. That was the thing that grudged me the most, thinking like, oh, come on, really? You couldn't just at least one more song, Calling All Stations, for example?
Yep.
And I mean,
which is my favorite of the album. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, maybe because Tony just felt like, well, because even for that tour, they had to drop the key for Ray because he couldn't even sing that high anymore. So maybe Tony was just not happy with the key or something like that. Also, I mean, I get with, for example, with the Nebworth show, they only, as in 92, that they're only, apart from the old medley, which is great to have, but otherwise the rest of it is just all We Can't Dance material. But then it's like, well, hang on a minute, what happened to Jesus He Knows Me? They played that there. That's a great performance. So why is that not done there either? So
okay, so that's how we feel about it. So what was missing, you felt? What should they have added song-wise?
Right, well, like we you nailed it around the head. Have like CDs of like the full concerts.
So because I have some specific songs that I wanted to.
Okay.
Because so you can't have the Wembley gig without Tonight in its complete and magical form.
That was a huge.
That is very
true.
A lot thing I heard from fans of what it was on here.
That's true.
Because that is just, they never played it that way again.
No.
And it was incredible that way.
That's true.
It's its own incredible song. So that's missing. I recently got on vinyl a special. It was actually 4 records of the one of the Invisible Touch gigs from LA, where they did an In the Cage medley, and that's the special In the Cage medley where they have Unquiet Slumbers for the Sleepers and In That Quiet Earth, and then they end with Apocalypse 9/8.
Right.
Which is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. I heard it the other day, and I'm like, we need to have that, because that is just unique and special and never done again.
No, and they did play it on the Touch tour, and it was omitted not only from the DVD from Wembley Stadium, but again, they did play on that last night for the BBC broadcast.
Yeah, and we know it exists there. Why can't we have it?
Why can't we have it? That's very true. Yeah.
I mean, again, say with my record here that has all the original songs for that one, why don't we just have them all then together? Because they're very cool together like that on that unique recording.
Yep.
And then the last one is this one I don't care as much about, but we don't actually have a recording of the Turn It On Again medley anywhere either. I'm not that huge a fan of the Turn It On Again medleys, but we could also have that on there too, as something different that we haven't gotten before.
Yeah. So
that would be the case.
If I'm going to act as a defense lawyer here, for some reason, I don't know why, but I think with the Tonight, I think in the end of it, the band weren't really that smitten with the instrumental section, even though I think it's one of the best things they've ever done. But I think they just, all of them, including
that transition at the end where they come back into it.
I know.
It's like, that's as good as...
I think just Tony in the end was just like that solo, the whole middle part was like, yeah, to him. So that's probably why they dropped that. Hence why they never do that again after that tour as well. And what else?
Well, I think it's also a space issue where... Because there was a Tonight single version that was the shorter version with that pulled out. And I think that's just why they do that with Invisible Touch. It just makes it easier. So that way you knock off 2 big hits in a shorter version. And that's why they didn't change it. But I think it's
probably again, they didn't include it in the cage because they kind of already had that with the Lyceum concert, even though they go to very different tracks after In the Cage.
Exactly. I mean, but then you have Los Andos on there twice, which is pretty much the same song. It sounds totally different and cool. which you could have had then with the in cage saying, "Here's an early version and here's a later version." How crazy is this?
Oh hell! I mean,
All right, any last
even just
one. We get one last.
even just fade into it. Even just fade into it or whatever. We would have been fine with that too. Just fade into the next part you do. So yeah.
All right, one last. You get one more negative thing, and then we're closing the negative house.
One last negative thing.
I guess what rating would you give this then?
Ooh, okay, right, rating, right. Then I would say 7 out of 10. That's hitting me on the head for some reason like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's great, Jim.
Yeah,
I think it's a great gym to have.
Especially when this first came out, I was really hyped for it and everything. And as time has gone past, more and more, it's kind of dropped for me a bit of like, it was cool, but it's not quite as cool as I'd hoped it would be. They could have done better.
Yeah.
I also did, when I posted onto the Discord about the weird thing with the track listing, that started a rant that went for many pages of everyone just saying the quality, apparently the recording quality is crap on here, like for a lot of stuff, and that there's better stuff on YouTube in better recording and stuff. But they say they could have done more with how well they mixed it into stuff, and they didn't. So
yeah,
okay.
I mean, I actually was going to address that too. With, for example, when I listened to the Nebworth performances from 78. I was like, well, hang on a minute. I was like, let me try and find the link for the entire show. And then Squonk began, and I was kind of, whoa.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, well, hold on a minute. Squonk on YouTube sounds way clearer than the one we got here, Well,
and that's also a thing that Tony has said why they don't release a lot of this stuff, because he does say there's stuff out there and it's, that's already out there. We don't need to release it, and the quality is better from these bootlegs that you don't really need to.
Right.
But I like the packaging, and I like to have an official thing that I like to, whatever. So shut up, Tony, and just release it. I'll spend the money and make you even richer, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it goes back to the whole thing with. I was just saying, I guess it goes back to the whole thing with Phil's "Take a Look at Me Now" box set as well. We got all his albums with the extra footage on it too. So.
So the last negative thing is that this is the vinyl collection.
Yes.
It's 3 records.
Whoa.
3.
Wow.
And as you know, that is much less room than 5 CDs.
Yep.
So like I said, we don't even get any of the early stuff. It starts with the musical box. And then we get we get like 6 songs from the early stuff. The Lyceum thing, because I disagree, because they can't. I guess they skip Turn It On Again in the middle because they probably can't fit it all on one side. But then the bootleg version I've got has it on there, so I don't know. It's all a weird cutout. Calling All Stations does not exist in this version.
Oh man, wow,
that's all cut off. The 2 songs they include from Nebworth are No Son of Mine and Driving the Last Spike.
What? Okay.
I could have just had Old Medley and been very happy.
Yeah.
And then the layout, it's kind of a cool layout with this. It's kind of neat with this opening up.
Wow.
Like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah.
And then the various pictures and things are on the actual record sleeves and stuff like that. So I won't include pictures to show all that. And again, my critique would be, well, we don't want to do too many records. So for a little while, I had the Turn It On Again special thing. No, not Turn It On Again. No, the Last Domino vinyl collection, which I actually sold because I was not that into. But that was the last Domino vinyl collection they did, I think, before the tour, to kind of drum up interest for it. And that was 5 records.
Whoa.
And that included all the songs that were on the CD version. So they can make a version that has that.
Right.
Why didn't they do it with this? So that's where I landed that.
Yes.
All right. Negative
over.
High read over. Okay. Would you get this for a new fan of Genesis, for a friend who wants to get into Genesis?
100%. 100%.
I'm saying that to be a pretty good friend because it's not cheap.
No, that's true. Be like, you should listen to this. Are you going to buy it for me? Maybe. Yeah. No, we
can't stream it.
It's an amazing. Yeah, it's true. It's an amazing door to look into and peer through with your big ear. To check out what Genesis were like, well, this is the thing, because this is not like we're showing a fan, this is the stuff they used to do back in the 70s on their original albums. No. Everything you're hearing here is 100% live. So they're not just getting a taste of what the band used to sound like pre 80s era, but what they are like as a live band. and how they developed as a live band and how much tighter they got and the changes they went through and all these things. So it's a fantastic thing for them to have. I mean, heck, even the vinyl is fine for them to have to introduce their era to them as well, you see. So
yeah. And I'm again, as we talk about this now, they do cater that to a lot of fans, where they will do a lot of general stuff, the kind of summing up stuff, because half their fans might be the super crazy hardcore people like we are.
Yeah.
That want all those deep special things and the complete things and stuff like that. The other half just want a bunch of Genesis songs that they like. Again, why they play all the big hits always on the tour and things like that. Because half the audience is generally going to be looking for that. And so maybe then that is why they did certain things with this collection and had some less stuff on it, because it was much more of a comprehensive thing for that way. As in saying, here's a new, you're a new fan. Maybe you have you've got a $50 gift card or whatever, and you're like, I'll give this a try. Whatever. I've heard, people tell me to listen to it, and says, I'll grab this. And then you go through all this and you're like, this is all great. I love all of this. And that's when you can expand you, and then you go into going through all the albums and everything, So in that way, I guess it does work as a good introductory thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's
a potential fan.
No, absolutely. It's a fantastic introductory for any heck, I mean, maybe for a non-Genesis fan who's never even heard of the band, might be quite overwhelming to hear. So that would be quite an interesting thing.
Nice rectangular shape. It wraps very well in a present. So it's not a book.
I guess in a strange way, it's like, right, what would you play them then to a fan who's never even heard of the band before? And I would probably say then I would play them the I don't know, the Lyceum concert, or probably the Lyceum concert. I would say, because there's a good chunk in there, and they're just entering a little poppy era with the whole Follow Your Follow Me section as well. Yeah.
So now we come to possibly a very important question. What, not Genesis, I guess. What is the company that owns all the Genesis stuff going to release next? Any thoughts? Any feelings?
Yes. Well, they already released all the albums and LPs, etc., didn't they? So
yeah, everything's out on vinyl, like album. I mean, stuff like the archive box sets aren't, for example. They did do the Turn It On Again. The Last Domino thing was out on this giant vinyl box set thing. But nothing like nothing super special, really. I know there was the thing they did. There was an April Fool's joke they did last year, which I totally fell for and totally believed that Tony Banks was redoing Selling England by the Pound, an orchestral thing, which sounded fantastic, and I loved that idea.
Yeah, as did I. I loved that idea too, and I was gutted to find out. I mean, even for Tony, I just thought, that's Tony. You're okay. You can be a humorous guy when you want to be, but that's just evil. That's beyond evil.
I mean, and then I was kind of hoping they'd start doing like something every year or whatever, but there's been nothing really heard since. Though actually, as we did this, there was some breaking news that I let you know about, where they are releasing the Turn It On Again kind of greatest hits album. They are releasing that for the first time on vinyl. I think it just you can pre-order it now, and it comes out in May. Though again, like I said, honestly, I'm not that worried about it, because I have all the songs on there already on the original vinyl albums that I have, except for Carpet Crawlers 99 is on there. That's the kind of little bonus thing you get on them, which is kind of cool, but also I'm not that desperate or whatever. I mean, it's kind of nice to have a mix. I mean, that's the thing with vinyl. It's not like CDs or streaming where you're like, I just want to shuffle this album for a change, and do stuff. Like, you could never do stuff like that with vinyl. It's obviously got to play it all the way through as it is. So that's kind of a cool thing to have if you want to have a compilation album of Genesis stuff. It's fun to have that on vinyl, but I don't care enough for that.
I mean, the only shuffling thing I did with that on the Hits album, CD version, obviously, was I did it in chronological order. But honestly, you literally start with I Know What I Like, and then you literally jump straight to, what is it, Follow You, Follow Me? So it's a few years jump in the timeline.
Few albums, few big moments in
Genesis. And then from then on, it's all the albums are back to back. But so it did really make sense in that matter.
I mean, I was looking a bit of the comments earlier too about what people were thinking, and it's the usual variety of I would expect of like Why are you doing this? We want Rainbow 73. Really something special, not this same old rubbish. And then other people saying, oh, great, I love it. I want this stuff. I'll be happy to get it. And you have all the diehard fans, the collectors that will lap it up. And again, people who would want some Genesis variety on vinyl will get it and stuff like that. But it still would be nice to have some sort of announcement of something official, some rare live album or something.
It was impressive, though, to see all the songs from the CD version appear to be on the LP version. So
yeah, it is nice they didn't just cheap out and do a single vinyl. They did it's a double vinyl and stuff. Yeah,
nice.
They took up the room. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun tracking down kind of bootleg vinyl stuff. I've had a couple on eBay. Pretty recently, it was a 74. 74 or was it 73? I think it was 74, but it was a Selling England by the Pound live show. I can't remember where it was from. Boston maybe. Anyway, but it was just cool to have all that stuff on there. Battle of Epping Forest, all live and stuff. I enjoy that. And then the other one I found, which was very cool, was it was the Invisible Touch tour one from I think it was the LA Forum. But the really awesome thing about it is it has that In the Cage medley we were talking about a little bit earlier with, In That Quiet Earth and Apocalypse 9/8 in there.
Isn't that date also quite early on in the tour? That LA
I don't remember when it was. Possibly.
Because it's quite cool. One thing was quite cool to follow that tour and those bootlegs is that really early on in the tour is not only it's like, well, it's, for example, late 86, they began the tour for that one. And Phil's voice was still hitting those really high notes. And things like Land of Confusion was still in the original key. And the set list was quite not that different, but like Land of Confusion was the first Invisible Touch track. I think they did Mama and Abacab like usual, but then the third track, instead of it being Domino, as we all know from the Wembley shows, it was Land of Confusion, for example. And then the whole In the Cage medley stuff kind of happened towards the end of the set. Whereas as it went on, suddenly they pulled it out like kind of halfway through or just shy of halfway through or whatever. So I think
it's In the Cage medley, and then I think it's Drum Duet and Los Endos, and then it goes into the Turn It On Again medley. Which is like, again, I'm not a huge medley fan, as I said, but it's kind of cool to have that now on vinyl in some way, because we've never had it, at least we're ahead of that. But we'll include pictures for what it looks like and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess it was on the first 50 shows or something like that, right? The early part of the 111 show tour. Invisible Touch.
Well, it's also kind of cool. You get to see how the medley developed as the dates went on, as the years went on. So it kind of really only started. What was it? The Mama tour. That's when Phil kind of started doing it. But he was just literally just ad-libbing, and then bit by bit, date by date, years by years, the band kind of like joined in on him, and now by the Wembley shows, it was just precise.
We'll talk a little bit about that very shortly, but we've got to get our other few things out the way first. But anyway, is there anything that sticks in your mind that you would like to see them officially release in some way?
I mean, like I said, it would be nice to finally get like the Rainbow. I feel like they tried to release in bits and bits, I suppose, like the Genesis Live box set, I think, which came out a few years back. I was actually going through it yesterday, and I saw like there were some dates there from the Rainbow, but not in its entirety. And then that stuff
that's on the archive one I think that's Rainbow, isn't it? I've got it right here.
Yes, that is. Yeah, that is right. Yeah. But again, that's kind of like, I don't know which one of it is with re-recorded vocals by Peter
what bit
and
Steve. Did they add on later in 98, 6, whatever it was? 7 that they added it on and cheated.
Yeah. They cheated.
The more as time passes, the more it's like, cheated. Just leave it as it is. I don't care if you sound bad. That's the beauty of it. Is that rawness. That's what we really want. I think that's what I want. I'd want more, and I kind of didn't say it about the BBC sessions. Like, and I understand it's, 5 CDs and just they had so much stuff to cover, but I really could have used more Peter stuff, even though it was a very, if you group it all together, it's a short period in the grand scheme of things. It's the earlier stuff that we don't have as much of that I'd love to hear more of and stuff, Like maybe we should get that would be cool. So, for example, like because we know with the Genesis Live album, that they were originally going to do a double album, but they didn't know if that was how that was going to sell and what people were going to think because it was too much to buy and stuff. So they did it as a single album, which is great. But why don't we get that double album that they were going to release with Supper's Ready and all this stuff on it in a cool packaging thing? I'd pay for that happily.
True. Yeah, I think I heard through the grapevine that they were, because it was the Supper's Ready, for example, was still so fresh for them. They wanted to really like warm themselves into it. I like how Tabletop referred to it, especially I think with Stacey, that she says, you can tell that these guys are just trying to make sure they get every single note correct, play it exactly as they want, as they can do. And I think with Supper's Ready, it was particularly that. And I think even when they first started out, it was rough. Really perfect. It was rough. So it's probably another reason why they left it off.
And I guess that's why, because again, they're not doing this for money. And well, I guess now they're definitely not doing it for money because I mean they don't care anymore anyway. But that's the thing too, because you'd say they're not doing this for money because they're rich enough and everything. They're doing this for representation of their music and their skill, and so they don't want to throw anything out there that's not as good. But again, now they've sold all their rights. It doesn't really matter what they say because it's these people who own it will release whatever they want. So just release all that rough stuff that they weren't happy to be releasing, and we'll happily buy it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
maybe it's taking a bit of time, a few years of get everything sorted out, what they want to work with and things like that, and then all of a sudden there'll be an avalanche of material coming out.
I mean, if I had a time machine that I would like get a kind of like a bootleg recording, but disguised in 1970 style, and just record that sacred roundhouse performance from 1970. With
modern technology, right? Because you're using that time machine and everything.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to bring back like a 4K. I'm going to take back with me a 6K camera and record it, videotape it, not just the audio, but videotape it, and then take an audio recorder as well, record them simultaneously, get like proper quality recording. And then
while everyone watches what the heck you're using and wondering what this.
Well, that's why I'm going to like try and stick it into this like big, huge,
so you need some sort of big
camera.
Costume, possibly like a Hogwarts suit or Slipperman suit, maybe to cover it up so they can't see you.
Well, it can't be a Slipperman suit. There's still 5 years to come.
That's what makes it even cooler.
Like, it's like, what's he wearing? I show with bat wings.
I guess the Watcher. What? No, it's still too early. It can't be. What can it be?
It can't be anything. Even if I shot it with a bit of paint on my face, people would be like, "What's this guy's problem?"
And then 3 years later, they'll be like, "My God, he knew what was coming."
Either that, it was like, "Hey, this Peter gave a copy of what that guy was doing that we saw at the Roundhouse." Yeah, but
I think it was Peter from the future.
Yeah.
All right, so we really don't know what's going to happen. There was actually another thing too. There was announced recently that Tony's working on something with some people, and it's not a We Love Tony album. It's something else, but he's working on something. So there's at least something on the horizon that we're going to hear about. So that was good to hear.
You did happen to see Richard McPhail with them. And we thought, oh, is he doing something with Richard McPhail? But I think no, he just took the photograph. That was.
Oh no, he tends to always be there, which is cool because he gets some incredible photos and has the best mates.
He does, yeah. We should do a little side episode on him as well and what
his history. Yeah, how important he was. Yep, an important piece of glue in the Genesis fabric.
And how solely responsible he was at one point of actually keeping the band alive because they were on the verge of calling it quits.
Mm-hmm. Hence the glue. Without glue, things fall apart.
Right. Yes. Right.
We move on to Dan's favorite bit, the drum bit. All right. Today, I want to know, how does Phil do the drumming in Home by the Sea? And we're going to talk about all the versions, I think, too, because it sounds very cool. It also sounds very complicated, and it sounds like almost like the bit where he's doing the thing on the Brazilian doing on the electric drums, where he's doing a million notes in 2 seconds and stuff like that. And obviously, on the album he is doing on the electric drums on the Shapes album and stuff. But then later on he does it on the gated drums. So I want to know how do you play that?
Right. So how he actually came up with that drum riff, I believe it just kind of fell out of him in the studio. Now, I don't know whether he was just,
Messing around.
fooling around one day, and maybe Tony heard that and was just like, that sounds great, or Mike, I don't know. Or he purposefully came up with it, and as to say, hey, we need some sort of drum groove for this instrumental track. I have no idea what the birth of Second Home by the Sea, how that came about.
Hey,
I knew it was a jam.
Hey guys, if you want to release something else, you could release all these demo tapes that have been saved somewhere. Just slap them on a CD, just put them on streaming. I will pay lots of money for that.
You already had Mama. You already had Mama,
and it was
re-released.
fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, actually, if I could just interject with a little bit from tabletop there, I thought it was kind of interesting how Mike Lord always says that he's never big fans of tracks that sound incomplete, yet he's really a big fan of demos, which ironically are incomplete tracks.
I mean, I just think of Pink Floyd releasing the Endless River, as a commemorative thing for Richard Wright, but also it's an album of demos of jam sessions and stuff. Well, and it's fantastic.
It is an album of completed demos. We'll put it that way. So it's they did complete it and everything. But yeah, I know what you mean though. So yeah, well, with Second Home, right?
I feel probably came out of a jam session, is what I'm kind of feeling.
It came out of a jam session.
Like he must try lots of different. I would guess when you're jamming and stuff, you do lots of different fills and different things and stuff, and kind of throw everything in there. And then when you listen back, you're like, "Oh, I like that bit. I like that bit," just like they do with the music.
I would like to know, actually, if maybe it could also have been a case where Tony had this kind of tempo already in his mind with that song, and maybe had a kind of a rough rhythm, a simple rhythm in his mind, and said, "Phil, can we do something with that?" And then Phil came up with that.
Yeah, like they did. They always know "Home by the Sea" was going to be this giant two-parter song, or was it like "Supper's Ready," where they had these separate parts, and they're like, maybe we should stick these together and make it one long song.
Yeah, I mean, even on that making of documentary that got released with Phil's homemade footage, it was never really. It was never really. They didn't really talk about it, did they? About how the song came about. The only real sacred moment was watching Tony showing Phil the melody, the lead vocal melody, and watching Tony like singing the lyrics, and you just thought, man, that's just so rare. That's kind of, you just see how it's done,
Yep, that's why we love that
Phil
stuff.
Phil probably being scared about thinking what lyrics Tony had this time, I just thought, no, it's just about a haunted house.
Yeah, it's
okay,
great.
we can work with that. That's fine. We can work with that. I like ghosts. Yeah. All right. So with that, we're gonna then. Well, let's approach then the
album version,
the electric drums, the album version with the electric drums first, because thankfully both the drum riff on the album version and when it drums then goes over to the actual acoustic gated triggered drums, the riff is exactly the same. So with the bass, thankfully with your hi-hat groove and the snare drum groove, that is your very typical common groove. The hi-hat groove is just, it's your typical hi-hat grooving you hear in a billion songs, pop songs, rock songs today. And same with the snare hit. The bass drum pattern, no, that's what's the really special thing of it, because even though he does start the bass drum on beat number 1, and those of you, me and Virgil fans who've been following us from the very first episode, you know that with all drum grooves, you kick that bass drum off on beat number 1, always. And he does have the bass drum on beat number 3 as well. But in between that, we've got a bit of like
extra
double bass drum work happening here,
And it's not a double bass drum. It's not 2 bass drums, right?
No, because here you have the guy who was regarded as having the fastest left foot in the West back in the 70s, but you can still see he's got it still happening even in the 80s. I think, to be honest, thinking about it, it's the only real one of the rare times you kind of hear Phil doing that double bass drum stuff happening here with his left foot.
What about on Duke's Travels? Because I know there's that bit from the
I mean,
that's another one, isn't it? Yeah, where he can't quite catch up with his old self.
Oh, well, actually, no, sorry. No. That's actually not double bass drum pattern there. It's what's called syncopated. It's kind of happening in between all the notes. So even though it's not happening at the same time. So with Home by the Sea, for example, you have this doom snare, but then immediately following the snare, you've got this like doom, ta-doom.
Okay, that's how it's doing it. Okay,
that extra doom.
Yeah,
that's his heel kind of going up, which is actually also pressing the pedal and then coming back down, and that brings in your second double bass drum note. So it's like doom, snare, doom, doom. So bass, snare, bass, bass, bass. Right. So if you took out those double notes, then you start boom, snare, bass. So without those double notes, it's exactly that. It's like 1.
It's just a regular beat, but
3,
yeah.
4. Yeah, it's like doom, ta, doom, 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 ta, doom, ta, doom, doom, ta. Yeah, that's it.
Sped up,
so
obviously.
the
Incredibly fast. That's all.
So that double bass drum note.
My calf is
happening
aching
then.
just thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we were then to break that down, how we were to count it, then it'd be like 1, 2, and then the first of that double bass drum note lands on the E. So so we're gonna take our little pizza again, or piece of cake, whatever you want to choose, people. Pizza or cake, your choice. And now, so we've got there. If we cut it into quarters, then we've got then just your 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's your bass drum, that's your snare drum, that's your bass drum, and that's your snare drum there. Now we're going to cut it into eighths. And there comes now your hi-hats coming there in between there too. Now we're going to cut those eighths into halves once again, and we become sixteenths. And to how to read out those sixteenths, you've got E's and R's. So on the eighths is the ands, on the quarters is the numbers, on the eighths is the ands, and then on the sixteenths you've got the letters, which is the E's and the R's.
I think you talked a bit about this in the last drum.
Yeah, few episodes.
See, we're doing a thorough education here, you see,
Thorough education. So then that first bass drum would then commence on the E of number 2. So it's like 1, 2 E, and then the very next bass drum where Phil's then heel comes back down. If that is his technique, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm managing to see it. Obviously, the camera is never kind of the director of the show said, "Can you do a zoom in on his foot now,
Can we have
please?"
foot
We
cam,
never really
please?
say that. Foot cam. Oh yeah, foot
there.
cam. Oh yeah, so maybe that could be the next Genesis release. A full Phil foot cam. Phil cam, foot cam.
It's
Phil's foot cam.
like the Way We Walk DVD that had this thing where you could pick different cameras, which was very cool for late 90s, whatever that was. I mean, one is foot cam for 2 hours.
Foot cam. Foot cam for 2 hours.
Especially when he's up there singing and you're just staring at an empty bass drum.
I like there be another foot cam as well saying, "What did Chester do? Foot cam. What did Chester do? Cam." Whenever Chester's not playing drums, just have the camera following him.
Yeah,
and watch
what's
what
he doing?
does.
He's out there having a
just
smoke.
sitting there. He's just sitting there having maybe having an apple, whatever. But
and it's an interesting callback to Peter, who used to have that bass drum on the stage in front of him. You know?
there you go. Where's that foot cam? I want a foot cam of Peter's bass drum, which apparently he was always out of time, and the bass drum kept moving forward.
So anyway, so you have that for the album version. So what about other versions?
Yeah, the versions are exactly the same. So you got that.
So you said you had
bass drum.
triggers and stuff. What's that?
Oh, right, yeah. Well, let me just quickly finish off with the rhythmic how he explains how he does this one. So snares on the 2, then the first bass drum is on the E, then the very next bass drum is on the and, and then after that you've got the bass drum that lands then on the 3. So it's like 1 snare E and 3 snare. So doom, taka doom, doom, tam, 1, 2 E and 3, 4. 1, 2 E and 3, 4. So if you're able to sing that, then you can play it. Congratulations.
Well, it
people.
depends how good your foot is.
Yeah, well, it could take some training. You know, I mean, I am a drum teacher as well, and I always tell the students that if you don't know, then take it slow.
There you go, slow it down.
I also say, if in doubt, count. That's what I always say. So play it slow and count along what you're doing. And I see my students struggling all the time trying to get it. And I'm like, are you counting? They're like, no.
There you go.
Count again. Whether you want to count out loud or count on your head.
Exactly.
As soon as they count out loud, they get it the first time, you see? Of course, then they want to just carry on. I'm like, no. Now we're going to play at least 4 times in a row. Okay? So anyway, so that's what Phil's doing. So he did that obviously for the album version and then the live version on that tour. And for the Touch tour as well, he's also on the electronic drums for that.
Right.
So then for the We Can't Dance tour onwards, and then the reunion tours and things like that, he's playing that. But if you compare to the sound of his drums with Home by the Sea on the dance tour, and say for example during the old medley or even the drum duet, the drums do sound very, very different. So I'm presuming then that they would stick these triggers on to, like, even though Phil is playing on his acoustic kit, with those triggers, I think between the bass drum and the snare, I don't think they're on the toms. You can kind of hear the authenticity of the toms. I might be wrong though, but it sounds like as if they've put those triggers on just to kind of keep that little electronic sound there. I think still.
Oh, okay. So the trigger that's making the sound, it's not actually adding beats or anything on its own. It's more just.
Oh no!
Okay.
It's just I did possess one of those triggers. I still do actually have it. The sound man gave it to me because we were using a sampling pad. And they wanted me to kind of like re-represent this trigger sound that was on the original album, which I wasn't the drummer on, you see. And so they would use that. They would either put it on the bass drum or they put it on the snare drum. And so when I hit it, comes this other sound you see on top.
So what does a trigger look like?
It could be anything. It could be. I mean, it could look like. What does it look like? I mean, it could just be like a strange. It looked like a small version of like a lampshade, a lampshade with a little dot there.
Yeah.
And then of course, obviously it's got a little tiny clamp. That way that you can clamp it onto the side of the snare drum,
right,
or you can clamp it onto the side of the trigger. And of course, then it has a cable which runs into
the mics and everything.
a console system. You see, which then runs into the desk.
And you don't have to do anything to it. You just when you hit the drum, it triggers it basically, does it?
As soon as once you've got the cable in there and you've got the sound triggering through that, you even take the trigger head off yourself, and if it's attached to an audio thing, you even hit the trigger itself, and you can hear the sound coming through. You see, you can see that sound coming through because it has also this what's it called? That's a sort of suspension inside that when you can actually press it in, you can actually hear it as well coming out, the sound coming out. So you stick onto, you see, snare drum you hit the snare drum. The vibration and everything comes into that trigger and it comes straight out.
Like so extra.
It is extremely sensitive. You barely have to tap it.
Right,
and it will
I bet.
come out, you see.
Okay, now that kind of makes sense going in later on too. That he doesn't have to hit everything as hard. Too.
Yeah, I mean, especially
each drummer, and including DZ on the calling on stage tour, each drummer is still doing all the work. Then they've just got a little extra sound amplification thing. Yeah.
I mean, one particular moment, if you really want to hear what it sounds like, on the I think it's the When in Rome documentary, where you've got to now part 2 of the documentary where it's always raining. I'm sorry, it's called the Come Rain or Shine documentary. Come Rain or Shine. And you've got them sound checking, and it's an open air show, so of course it's bucketing down with rain, and they're now telling everyone to get off the stage because there's literally lightning. And of course, all the crewmen are down straight away. The only people who are not leaving the stage is the band. and you got Phil's drum tech there. I think his nickname was Pod. And he's being communicated, saying like, "Can you get the band off the stage, please?" It's like,
I know. I've told them
twice. And Phil's and you can actually hear Phil sound checking. Home by the Sea, the second Home by the Sea. You can actually hear him. You can actually hear his drums, not like only his drums, and you can actually hear that drum riff being played, and you can really hear the difference in how his drums
hopefully
sound.
Hopefully we can try and show some of this footage if we can find it.
I'll definitely make that happen. Yeah,
cool. Very
I'm
neat.
going to show it now. Yeah,
and then I wonder with Dreaming While You Sleep too, because it has a weird thing when the drum starts to come in just as a beat, it goes like, and then.
Yeah, that's just. I believe that's just what's called a flanger sound, which is brought on by the sound man.
Oh, okay.
There's no like, there's no triggers on that. No triggers. You can just you can just literally put like a sound on, and it creates this flanger sound. You see, I mean, I can even do it with I was actually experimenting the other day with our voices.
I was going to say you can do that, and then record it.
And I hit the button. And suddenly our voices were shining like this.
I only get kind of like Phil was making weird bird sounds during the studio version. But
yes. Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't know there was a chicken in Dreaming How You Sleep, but guess there is.
No.
Well, good. No. Well, now I know. And now we can all play Hung by the Sea, or try to.
Now we can all play Hung by the Sea.
Have you ever had a calf cramp from doing it? What happens if you have a calf cramp? You just have to scream.
Actually, I think only once in my entire life I actually gained a minor cramp whilst playing drums doing a show, and I don't believe, thankfully, I was playing a very difficult drum bass pattern, So I mean, just quickly, just to say, if I can share a tiny little tale. about the effects a sound man can do. So a band I'm playing in recently, I can't announce it right now. It's a little bit secret about who it is.
Right.
But the band I've been playing in recently, there's a song that I do, and on the album version, it's a tribute band that I'm in, and we're replicating the album tracks. And there's a song that they did, and the sound of the snare, it almost sounds like the guy is rolling. He's going taka 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 taka. So doing my rehearsal with the band, I just did it automatically. I went ta 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 ta.
That's what
And
we figured.
the band told me, they said like, oh, you don't need to do that. Just hit it that bum bum bum, and the sound guy will recreate that rolling sound too. And I was like, oh,
We're working
really?
too hard, Dad.
So,
Take it easy.
yeah. So I would then listen to it. I'm literally just going ba, and he's just put on like an echo effect. And it just goes baka 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 baka.
Like you do with the
baka,
voice
baka.
singing and echoing and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
The only amusing thing is that sometimes he forgets to turn it off. So then once that section's done, you go into a solo. And I'm going,
that
"Doo,
is such...
da, da, da,
Why is the drummer being so noisy?
da, da, da."
Everything's echoing.
Yeah. So that was the amusing thing. But that just goes to show, like, you can
What you can
not just
do,
with triggers, but with the sound man, you can like just do all sorts of things.
So much
They're
cool. Very cool. Oh,
as
that's
they're
great.
all mic'd up.
Well, I think that wraps up our episode for today. Should we talk about what we're planning for next?
Right. Yes. Well, as we mentioned it a few times in this episode,
Hinting. We didn't plan. Yeah, it's been hinting here and there, little Easter eggs
hinting
through the
there,
episode.
here and there and everywhere about now that you get to see with this wonderful BBC box set how a band who's just were playing just song after song after song back in the early days, now they're getting so much more comfortable with their live setup, especially with the other musicians. You know, the more American musicians coming into the band, which we with Daryl and with Chester and everything, they're like, wow, we're really solid here. Let's try and mix it up a little bit. And then comes the birth of their medleys.
Right.
And any long-term Genesis fan should know the particular medley that they really loved to kept repeating over the years was the In the Cage medley. We only know it's In the Cage medley because it always starts with In the Cage.
Right.
and then who knows where they would leave off, you know? It's almost like a Guns N' Roses set list. You never know
What's gonna
where
come.
it's gonna go. I read an article recently about with the guitar player who eventually replaced the original guitarist, Izzy Stradlin, a guy called Gilby Clarke, and he was told by Slash, he said like, right, we're off, you got the part. We're off on tour in a week. Learn the entire catalog. He's like, whoa, hang on, don't you just? And I just read an article just like a few days ago, and then he says, learn the entire catalog. It's like, hang on, don't you just have like a set list of 20 to 25 songs? He said, no, we never have a set list. Axl just calls them out. That's it.
That's amazing. We see that with Genesis too. I mean, the last few tours has been pretty much the same, but earlier on they would change in a lot of songs and stuff like that, which is cool. But I think that's unusual for bands because most bands I think just stick to a set list, don't they?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So that's
like
pretty amazing
you
about
do
Guns N'
kinda-
Roses. That's very cool.
Yeah, because I think that's true. Like I think with the dance tour onwards, the set list was just
The
always
dance
the
tour
same.
had
I
a
think
little bit because you had Mama and That's All and
Mama and
Puppet
That's True, and even
Crawlers,
Puppet
Into Deep.
Crawlers.
Yeah, a few things, but
Oh,
definitely.
they didn't.
Well,
did
it's
they do
on.
Deep as
It's
well?
on Volume 1. I think they did like one show.
Ah, yes, but if you look at the credits, it actually says recorded
Yes.
1987.
Yeah.
So, yes. But there were things like Dreaming While You Sleep as well was in
Yep.
there, and then eventually and Throw It
Yep.
All Away as well was
Right.
eventually dropped and things like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the core set of it was the same, and even in the order was.
But again, talking about like the Invisible Touch tour where they had
Oh, yeah, yeah.
sometimes,
That was-
sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they had the In the Cage medley and didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
and that almost feels like I mean, we definitely see a lot of that too with Phil and his solo stuff. And I wonder if that's almost a Phil thing over the band. I don't know. But anyway, it's interesting. But yes, our next planned episode is the evolution of the In the Cage medley from, this little ditty on a double giant prog album to them playing it, just the song on its own in whatever it was, 76, I think. They did play a thing on the Trick of the Tail, didn't they? Just the song on its own.
No. It was the
Winter
Number
Weather?
3 tour that they
Didn't
began
do
it.
but in Winter Weathering, I thought they just did the one song. No?
Not the In the Cage medley. No,
Not
sorry,
the medley.
In the
I
Cage,
mean, just the
because
song. Because
No,
it
no,
started
yeah,
just the
no,
song,
they-
and then
They didn't bring it out until the Mirrors tour.
Okay.
Because they thought they would bring it out again and they actually all agreed with this, because Chester just brought a new lease of life to it.
Cool.
He just brought this very unique groove to it, and again, thanks with Chester and his roots and everything,
Right.
he just brought this awesome solid, funky, rock funky
Edge to
vibe
it, yeah.
to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, as with Phil, Phil had his own sort of like lamb, unusual air about it, you
Yep.
see. Whereas with Chester, it's just, and plus he had Daryl as well, throwing in some amazing guitar work.
So, well,
And it just had this newly-
there's your teasers for our future episode. We're going to be talking all about that.
There
yeah.
you go. There
Yeah.
you go. Coming from the tour, which in me personally is one of my favorite set lists that they ever did on the N 3 tour.
Mhm.
So
Cool.
we will talk about that.
That'll be
Yes.
another episode one day too. Our favorite set list tour, favorite tour for set list wines and stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
I already know what mine is, but
Okay,
anyway.
so
Yeah,
then
no.
there's a spoiler there as well.
Yes. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. We had a lot of fun diving deep into the BBC broadcasts, talking pros and cons, expressing some negative views as well as positive. So it felt good to get some
Yes.
stuff on my chest about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and as always, feel free to share. I mean, if you all listeners have the box it yourself, let us know which version.
Yeah,
and whether
definitely.
you have the CD
If you
version,
have
the
any
vinyl
opinions on it
version,
and stuff,
or
yeah.
both.
Mm-hmm.
Please send us your comments and opinions about it as well. And heck, just whether it's
Whatever you want.
positive or
Yeah.
negative, whatever you want.
We're everywhere. We're on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. Say whatever you want
and then
anywhere.
otherwise, you can simply email us at meandvirgilpod@gmail.com
Mhm.
and share your views there. Meanwhile, yeah, we thank you so much for us. We hope this was the length of this episode was okay for your ears and your time. So we thank you for sticking with us.
Every
thank
time
you
I
for
say
sticking
we're going to
with
do a
us for so
shorter
long.
episode, we never do. I think it's
No,
impossible.
no.
I think the shorts
Yeah.
and it's always the longs.
Yeah. So yeah, we thank you very much again.
Thanks.
Of course, whether you've been with us from the very beginning of this the birth of the podcast, we thank you for sticking with us. And whether you just joined us on this first episode, then thank you.
Yeah. We're
Stick
looking
around.
forward to where we're going next. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Well, meanwhile, it is good afternoon. Oh, good night, whatever, wherever you are in the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good night from me.
And good morning from Virgil.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Me and Virgil chop some wood, but we stop our swinging just to listen to a cry.
Thank you for listening to Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you can get new episodes as soon as they're released. Feel free to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to mention us to your Genesis friends so you can agree or disagree with what we talked about on the show. Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast, is edited by Dan Telander and produced and hosted by Dan Telander, aka me, and Alex C. Telander, aka Virgil. If you'd like to reach us to let us know what you thought about this episode, or if you wanted to correct something we were very wrong about, you can reach us at meandvirgilpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Looking for someone.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok under the handle meandvirgilpod for announcements and info about the show, as well as anything else we think you'd be interested in related to all things Genesis. For now, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it, and see you on the next episode of Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast.
Well, me and Virgil, we beat the desert, we're riding fast and riding hard. We hit the city, the past behind us, so we raised some hell, we had some fun. And to this day, I can hear my saying to me, you're a big boy now.
And I'm also trying to make it the continuity here. So I'm wearing the same T-shirt despite it not being 100%.
I could drag mine out if you want, or we're going to at least break out a Phil shirt.
Or it could just be like, oh, we had sorry there. Looks like Virgil spilled something on his coffee on his T-shirt.
I spilled Phil on my Genesis shirt. That looks terrible. Cup of coffee number 2 as well, as I planned.
Oh, that's just one of those. That's the
It is a mic stand.
the ring lamp. It's the ring lamp. You see.
Come on, Dan, we're wasting film here. It's expensive stuff. I'd have to do a Luke line and say, that's impossible.
Yeah, I am doing that as well. Here, basically can't reach the book. Oh,
What book? There's only clothes in there. Oh, okay.
just to straighten out the microphone a little bit.
I have plenty of books too if you need some more height.
You have books, do you? Okay.
Couple towel.
Right. Ready?
No.
This album, and that's what
Mhm.
I feel very.
I hope this stays on the video. And we're back. Well, you're like this. I think it was your fast movement that just blew its mind and it couldn't take it.
Hello. Yo.
Yo.
Okay, good. That's
Yo.
No.
good. Hey.
Third time's the charm? Yeah, maybe
Golden
if you cross
gem,
the
right?
streams
Sounds-
of both phones, you'll have a good, strong connection.
You said cross streams are bad. So where
Nope. Damn it!
take 3.
I tell you,
And on
episode
that
10
move-
we're going to be fantastic.
Yes.
That's what I keep saying.
We're back. Okay, let me just quickly record again. Hello? Yeah, good.
It's very similar to the stuff that was released on the... Oh, you died.
Steve,
You've
what
seen
about that?
Steve live, haven't you?
Yes.
Has he ever done... Did he do any medley stuff? Yes. I died. Yes. What? What did you say? What did you say?
At least twice.
Oh, no, your camera's... Oh, it's not.
Internet's unstable.
I was joking there because you were slowly saying...
Oh,
"Whoa."
it was.